What is up? What is up? Welcome, welcome, everybody. My God, why does it always do this to me with my stupid thumbnail? I set it up nice and straight before we go live and it messes me up. Never mind, let's get rid of it straight away. Welcome. It is Monday night. It is Easter Monday. It is the 5th of April 2021 and it is an unscheduled, unplanned, later than usual reality decoded. So glad that a few of you can tune in. And we've got Martha watching on Facebook. We are simultaneously streaming on 3 platforms: YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch, although absolutely no one is ever watched on Twitch. I don't even have any followers on my reality decoded Twitch account, but never mind, we are here on YouTube primarily, and the other platforms are merely just because I can. Why not try and spread the information? But it has been an Easter weekend, and I didn't come to you live Saturday or Sunday as I've been hoping and trying to do these past few weeks, giving you Friday, Saturday, and Sunday streams. But because it was Easter, a lot of folks seem to have family stuff going on. A couple of the mods were otherwise engaged with their families, so trying to sort of present the information I try to present to you to the most amount of viewing eyes possible is sort of my aim. By no means do I expect to be viral, getting millions of likes, thousands of shares, in tens of thousands of subscribers and views, but I do like to try and share the information I do find with a few of you all that do enjoy these live streams and have been regularly following along here at Reality Decoded in its infancy and previously over at TSP TV, where we did cover an awful lot of information in ground looking into tonight's subject, Project Bluebeam. In this particular episode, we're going to be talking about the Canadian issues, or the Canadian edition rather of Project Bluebeam, because funny enough, on the 30th of April, not April, 30th of March of 2021, just 5 days ago, there was a very odd occurrence that was caught on film and a few snappy Snapchat type photographs that started circulating on social media that took place at Montreal airport, and it sort of kind of falls very much into the sort of realms of the stuff we've been talking about, in particular Project Bluebeam. And our last stream that we did do on Friday night, on Good Friday, was hoax invaders from space, in which we looked at a little bit of how the mainstream, certainly in the United States, is pushing this alien agenda narrative, and how for many years many presidents have been reading from the same script. Many of them go on Jimmy Kimmel to repeat the same script and act out the same scenario, different decade, different audience maybe, but the same message. Aliens are there, we've got secret documents, the CIA, the FBI, all the alphabet agencies around it, they've got knowledge. And now, under the COVIDian pandemic, 2021 year into the scam pandemic, now we're in 2021, but the 12 months since the dawn of the COVIDian era has also seen record-breaking amounts of alien UFO related articles, sightings, and oddities. So we've got Mel Nancy, Devil Speak, good to see you, buddy, and Kelly Kibo was here. Welcome, Kelly Kibo, to the Quickie Mart. And here's Better Martha. I'm here too. Better video on YouTube, Facebook. YouTube keeps buffering. Don't know why you're buffering. Maybe the algorithm doesn't like you watching Reality Decoded. But yeah, we can stream on multiple platforms, so why not? But glad you come and made it over here. Martha with the regular offenders, but some of you who have been following along at TSP TV prior to the foundation of Reality Decoded, you may have come to have found TSP TV, or the Thrift Store Prepper as it was once known, via the route of the Marfugel News channel. Many of you don't need explaining who Marfugel is. If you don't know, he is a kind of shill corporate YouTuber with 100k subscribers on a couple of channels. It sort of reads fake made up truth stories and sells people gadgets that they don't really need, like EMP shields and grounding devices. But anyway, a couple of years ago, nearly 3 years ago in fact, I went on his call-in show and I spoke about the coming false flag hoax alien invasion and talked about how much this has been predicted within the realms of fiction and how there's been decade after decade of narrative on the alien agenda, and now we are pretty much, soft disclosure, was announced during the COVID times, any other given period of time that the Pentagon releases documentation to say, yeah, these UFOs that our pilots saw, we can't explain them. There's a very good chance they do come from outer space. Or do they come from outer space? Are they just military technology that is very, very, very way advanced, that would just look alien to us? Or is this all part of the seed plantation for the next false flag psyop, the alien agenda? Glynis, did you creep in? Welcome, welcome, my sweet. Glad to see you. Well, that's exactly it. This is the cooler Marfugel. We just don't got all the gadgets in the false flags, if you know what I mean, or the cult like thousands of followers. But nevertheless, it was a little bit of an attempt and a window of opportunity to gain a little bit of attention for myself. And those of you that have stuck with me, like Martha, Elmel, in some of the newbies that we found, like Devil Speak, and even little Nancy sort of wandered around about a year after I started getting some subscribers. I've started to form the little community that does seem to enjoy what I've got to say, for whatever personal reasons you may choose to tune in for. I do do know that some just really like the way I sound, and I could be talking about all sorts of bizarre random things as long as I was talking in my sweet sexy British accent, and that is things that I get sent emails about, so I'm not sort of being delusional there. That is from previous experience and reference. I could even share some of those emails with you if I wanted to, but some of you viewers might get a little bit uncomfortable having your dirty secrets aired upon here. So some things are left a little bit personal, but there are some of you that do like to pay attention and do sort of follow along and fuel and help to contribute. And I think sort of in recent weeks here at Reality Decoded, we are seeing a lot more sort of contributions towards the sort of chat and dialogue, and we've been having panel shows, few guest callers, and trying to sort of bring you a little bit more of a enjoyable entertainment experience, as well as the information and educational content that this channel is a main meant for, but it's trying to get you guys a little bit involved. But it was, as I said, on the Marfugel's show, the alien invasion, the next false flag, the next psychological operation, I believe was what would be the elite's final roll of the dice as we emerge into the one world order that would possibly be negated in events to halt and thwart the alien invaders. Now, I don't go out of my way to think that the alien invaders are actually going to be extraterrestrials. Project Bluebeam, again, something we put a lot of information out up on TSP TV, but unfortunately I didn't put those in live streams. I just made uploads and uploaded them and got almost zero feedback. And that's because, really and truly, I know that when I do upload a video, people maybe watch for like 4 or 5 minutes and then decide, okay, I've given that enough, let's go back to something else. But if we present it within the live stream, then people seem to pay attention, and that information then does get passed on, which was the whole purpose of putting these presentations together. And I also like to be able to get a little bit of feedback that may fuel me for further investigations. But way back last year, in the very, very early weeks of the scam pandemic, I put up a video, COVID cover up, Project Bluebeam, are they getting ready? And the reason being because back then already there was a spike in UFO and alien sightings making the rounds on the mainstream channels, mainstream news outlets, not just sort of truther or UFO type channels that may be sort of laughed at or discredited as being kind of tinfoil hat types. You're right, Elmo. It has been a while. Sorry, guys. You guys have a little chat seeing what was being said there. Silver linings from dark clouds, and as I said, from Marfugal, that little window of opportunity have brought a lot of folks to the thrift store. But as I said, last year at the start of this, I put up a video which would become a stream of videos in a series that was sort of ongoing with regard to Project Bluebeam and the amount of sightings that we were seeing around the world, not just in North America, everywhere. It seems to be a global phenomenon. And in the last couple of years, have the elites been tinkering around with the technology, giving it a couple of little dummy runs, some practice, just to get some feedback and some data to research in order to see how they need to tweak or improve once they get for the final run. Because once it goes live, there can be no error of margin, otherwise it is all gonna fall to pieces. But all the technology exists. We've looked, as I said, extensively at all the technology, all the methods, and how long Project Bluebeam has been around. Over 30 odd years. This has been even more than that, probably, but this has been in the pipeline and has been one of the deep state's plans. It's not exactly one of the secretive plans, which might be a deception in itself, give us a little bit of something to keep us busy as form of distraction. But no one can really dismiss the fact that during COVID-19 there has been an awful lot of alien related activity, as well as soft disclosure. And as part of the COVID bill, they did request, ahead of getting people back to work, getting things opened up, schools and businesses, movie theaters, stadiums, where you can go and watch your favorite sports team and have a little bit of entertainment with socially minded individuals as yourself. All of that is secondary to them providing documentation and information on everything these alphabet agencies have on UFOs and alien visitations, and they've got until the end of June to do this. But as I said, back to this Canadian incident. So last Thursday or Friday it must have been. When was the 30th of April? Not April, March, sorry. It was only a few days ago. This event cropped up in Montreal, Canada, and it's a very, very strange event because, bearing in mind, we're seeing and hearing so much narrative coming out of the mainstream regarding aliens and UFOs and all these sort of sightings. In a day doesn't go by, it doesn't seem, without one news agency having something to say about the alien agenda. But this event that was captured and seen on Facebook and has a few videos on YouTube. I did share them on the Reality Decoded Facebook page, and some of you did comment on it. I didn't take the pictures. I don't live in Montreal. I live in Toronto, Canada. Montreal is a 6-7 hour drive away, depending on traffic and who you're driving with. So it's not somewhere that would be close for me just to pop across, take a few pictures and come home. But they were circulating around on social media, and somebody sent me those because of the the topic we've been talking about recently, the aliens. Did you see this in Montreal last week? Like, oh my goodness, blue lights over fucking Montreal airport. What gives? But there's nothing coming out of Canadian news agencies or anybody talking about this. And bearing in mind, this took place over a major airport, over a major city, and supposedly thousands and thousands of people witnessed this. There doesn't seem to be very much footage, a little bit like a certain Tuesday in September 20 years ago, where, you know, at a time maybe we didn't have cell phones that had video cameras on, although there were early, you know, cell phones that had like just normal cameras, but they didn't have video cameras. But people did have little sort of Discman cameras, camcorders that got very small. You know, you could have a little one like this. And New York being an extremely busy tourist destination, you would think there would have been a whole lot more footage of these planes hitting the building, but we weren't. We were only given 5 or so pieces of footage that they rehatched, remixed over and over and over again, of what I believe are CGI holographic images of aircraft hitting those buildings, because physics will not allow aluminum to penetrate steel. Jet fuel does not burn hot enough to burn steel. Boeing 777s cannot perform at 500 in something miles an hour at that very low altitude. They will just fall to pieces in the air and would never ever reach their target. So a lot of false physical evidence were provided as official narrative in that, as well as a very few sort of sketchy, grainy photographs. No more so than the 3 images that we saw of the most heavily fortified premises on Earth, the Pentagon. You can't imagine how much security is in that building, but unfortunately we only managed to get 3 pieces of footage that were from a car park, you know, where the thing goes up and down. Unbelievable. But that's a little bit of the case with the event that we're going to have a little look at tonight, with this Montreal airport event. Submarines pissioned around Cuba. We're going to project Mother Mary in hopes, and that is another part of Project Bluebeam. As I said, we've looked extensively at it over at TSP TV. There's probably up to 10 to maybe 15 hours worth of footage that no one's really watched or paid attention to beyond the first couple of minutes, maybe left a thumbs up in a random great video, thanks for sharing. Whoa, if you weren't awoke before you watched this, you certainly will be after the words, but doesn't really sort of say anything about the content that was actually in those videos. But Project Bluebeam doesn't just involve the holographic alien invasion. It does also involve an awful lot of religious kind of propaganda, for want of a better word. But they're going to kind of use the whole alien invasion as part of a destabilization of modern religions and bring in sort of you know, the second coming type, what do they call it, not tribulation, oh my god, that thing when they go up in the air, why can't I think of it? You know what I mean, when they get sucked up, the good Christians. Help me out, rapture, the rapture, there we go, thank you. Fascinating telling your age. Sorry, am I missing something here? Well, they might well be amazing. They might well be deep fake hoaxes. They might well be something that they don't want us to know about because they haven't reported it on mainstream media. And with the mainstream being all up in the alien agenda shit, it makes me a little bit wonder as to why this event, that, you know, you've seen the photos for yourself, they do look quite alarming or spectacular. You know, Nancy, you said that they were cool. But is it really cool if they are testing the technology that is going to be set to destroy us? Probably not. It would be a little bit alarming and disturbing. I mean, you're right, they do look cool. Wow, UFOs, look at this, it's fucking wicked. But if not, they are testing out weaponized technology that they want at some point in a not so distant future used to depopulate us. Then I think we need to put our spidey senses on high alert and be very aware, because there's lots and lots of activity in the sky, and all the equipment that Elon Musk is shooting up in there, I'm pretty sure is technology and equipment in order to create a holographic net, a web around the globe that they can project holographic images on. And was this little event at Montreal airport exactly that, a little test run of seeing how they can bounce around these images off of one another. And with something, Devil, a few weeks ago you were talking about the silver footballs and these kind of drones that you saw. These could be objects that are much lower to the ground and much smaller than we think, but you know, the forced perception of seeing something through a camera lens might make it seem as though it's high up in the sky at altitude, when it might be an awful lot closer. But apparently these sightings also caused some delays in flights over the airport, although again can't find any information on that, as well as not a nugget of information coming out of any Canadian news agency regarding this event. So this is what it's like. Hang on a minute, what's going on here now? The videos and the photos look very, very suspect because they're very, very short, and a couple of the photos are of people taking photos of the event themselves, which kind of is trying to create the illusion. Oh, it's real because look, I'm taking a picture of someone taking a picture of the same thing that I'm taking a picture in. It sort of kind of creates the false perception more people saw it. Those were picked out by radar. Yeah, that's right, you were saying about this. Devil, Elmel, what do you got to say? These lights are all over the skies, especially at night, mainly at night, which I find interesting. And you're right, it is. I'm looking up at the sky when I go out for a smoke in the dark, and I'm looking at the stars, and that doesn't look like they should be there. That doesn't look how the sky used to look. I myself have seen the sky train going over quite some time ago, in the early days of the pandemic. And you're right, these are all going on around the world. Hello, Kelly Rose. Glad to see you here. And is this part of the deep state seeding in the plantation, getting us used to hearing about UFOs, and getting it more and more widespread, getting it more, you know, sort of believable for folks that were maybe a little bit more skeptical. You know, if you go back possibly 50 years and ask people what they thought about aliens, you may get a sort of 25-35% reaction. Oh yeah, I believe in aliens. But now if you ask sort of the population if they believe in aliens, it'd probably be closer to sort of like 70 or 80% of people, I think, that would believe in it. And again, bringing in the aliens to the equation would sort of dismantle a lot of religious dogma, and kind of displace some of those religions and usher in a new religion. You know, Scientology, ufology. We look at the Heaven's Gate cult. This was very much a new age religion that brought kind of Christianity into the mix with ufology. And you know, the what was the comic called? Halibub? Halibub? Supposedly the spaceship was going to be following behind and was coming down to rapture the heaven gates individuals once they committed Harry Carey in their Nikes and black tracksuits, and then underneath their 3 foot by 3 foot purple silk sheet that they covered the corpses with, they would then be ushered off to heaven via a spaceship. Was the Heaven's Gate cult again a dummy run for a grander scale? Let's see if we can get an handful of people believing in this shit, and if we can get them to castrate themselves and then drink some poison concoction in the belief that they're gonna heaven, maybe we could do this to the masses. And maybe once they bring in the holographic aliens, then these deep state controlled opposition new age preachers can come out. Oh, they're here, it's just like Doe and T told us, they've come to rescue us. But anyway, it's the COVID smokescreen. It is what it is. It's a distraction. It is keeping people divided. It is keeping people occupied. And just like sort of 9/11, while everybody was worried about radicalized Islamic terrorists, they didn't notice that the government were slowly stripping away rights and liberties, and introducing more tyrannical measures in legislation, like the Unpatriotic Patriot Act. We're now going to have a Pandemic Act. It's pretty much here. They just haven't announced it. This is going to keep going on and on and on and on. Now back to hoax invaders from space. The last stream we looked at some fiction that we decoded in regards to the fake staged alien invasion. Nearly in every single one of those pieces of fiction, it was a group of scientists, for the better of humanity decided and took it upon themselves to stage an alien event, or a hoax alien event. One of them, the Flying Saucer from 1947, that come out 11 months rather after the Roswell incident, depicted three fake staged UFO crashes around the world, one in Russia, one in England, and one, funnily enough, in New Mexico. And all of these were staged. They used dummies that looked like humans, special effect aliens that looked like corpses, and they mangled them up and smashed up spaceships and staged a series of events. But without a doubt, the sort of defining factor in all of these pieces of fiction was that there was a period of Cold War. People were fearful of Armageddon. People were, in some ways living their last days, and were very, very, the disassociated with society. Disruptions were breaking out. People were getting volatile and hostile because they believe they are living in the last days. Now, although we're not in a Cold War as such under the COVID, we kind of are in a similar certain sense with regard to the symptoms of the COVID. That we're fearful. We don't, even as truthers or conspiracy theorists, label us what you will. I like the term realists. But even if you are, it doesn't matter that there is an ounce of fear. If your fear is, oh my God, I believe COVID's real, I need to wear a mask, I need a vaccine, that is fearful as itself. If you're somebody that is in our mindset, is a little bit conspiracy minded, a little bit of a truther, and like all of a sudden it's like, fuck me, the elite motherfuckers are rolling out their shit like never before, it's going to go down. It's fearful. We're all scared of something. Now, I know there are some individuals that might laugh or might say they're going to laugh all the way to the guillotine. Probably in reality, once the fucking shit hits the fan, these people might just piss their pants, cry for their mummy, and pray for whatever God will listen. Hey, Kali Ninja. But I've been a bit fearful since this began. I've been on high alert. I've been in survival mode. I am on survival mode. I haven't had an income for over 12 months. I've been living off my pantry primarily and topping it up with little bits and pieces here and there in groceries via donations that you guys do generously drop in my tip jar. So I've been in high alert in survival mode. I'm not the only one. I've been paying attention to what is trying to go on in this world, trying to get behind the smokescreen of COVID. And COVID is the divide and conquer, problem, reaction, solution, that you're either going to be arguing against masks or arguing for masks. In this argument, in this battle, is a battle that can't be won, and it's a pointless battle. A lot of people on the anti-lockdown side, in the anti-maskers, the anti-vaxxers, kind of believe that they're freedom fighters, and freedom fighting isn't sharing memes on social media platforms. And you have to understand that if you are fighting for freedom, freedom means that people have the right to wear a mask or not if they feel afraid. Do you know what I'm saying? Tell me that's not a fact. But this is what people are being more distracted with. The whole Great Awakening. Hello, Maiden over there on Facebook. But the whole Great Awakening, some of the popular memes that have been shared over the past year. I do it in my little meme voice. When you start a scam pandemic, but accidentally start a Great Awakening. Share if you agree, if we're woke. Yeah, you're not woke. You're in a fucking deep state induced coma or haze. You're sleepwalking. They're giving you what they think you need to know in order to give you the impression of being woke. But what is going on behind COVID, the narrative of lockdowns, in vaccines, in masks, in not to masks, problem, reaction, solution means that people will choose a side. If you've chosen a side, then you've been manipulated. Not choosing a side, not reacting the way that you should do is ways to upset the deep state apple cart. But behind all of this, there's been an awful lot of attention to the skies above. And is it just a matter of time, with all this disfranchise in the world, the old normal, the new normal, people fighting in each other's throats, getting angry? And I see posts on Facebook. If you post something about you've got a vaccine or you've had your kids vaccinated, unfriend me now. I'm fighting for your freedom. Share if you agree. I'm a freedom fighter. And imagine in World War II, if the D-Day invasion, when the Allied forces landed on the beaches of occupied France with the Nazi machine guns, and they run out with like placards, "Show me what democracy looks like," against the machine gun battalions of the National Socialist Army. And "Share if you agree, Hitler's not my Führer." Wouldn't end very well. Those poor buggers that ran on the beaches, they knew how to fight for freedom. They had guns, they had bayonets, and they bled and bleed and got their guts shot out. That is what freedom fighting was. They didn't just share a bunch of memes on Facebook and hope that the Nazis would go away. Sorry, I'm getting a little bit off track there. Welcome, madam, to the proceedings. Is anyone paying any attention? I will post my PayPal link. Kelly Rose, hold on a second, my sweet. Although Maiden's here, but she's just put little one to bed, so I'll save her mod duties for now. But as I said, guys, there's a lot of reports of aliens and such for, and the fact that this event at Montreal didn't get an ounce of attention on any mainstream media does raise a certain amount of suspicion in my mind as to what exactly it was. Now, there isn't a lot of revelation in the footage that is available on this, and it's there are very short videos, and this again, you sort of think to yourself, myself personally, when I make videos, I like to give as much information as I possibly can. I'm the anti-meme. Memes with like 6 or 7 words on there and a little picture, that's not information. That isn't even postage stamp information. That is just a tiny little bit of words that you'll forget in a few minutes. But the information I try to spread is as most as possible. So if I was looking in the sky and there's these weird fucking blue lights floating around, I would record that till my fucking battery died. Every gas minute I could possibly do, and if I had the second phone, I'd get them both out, different angles, zoom in, yada yada, because it is a very, very strange event. And the fact that there are only a handful of images in very, very short videos about this suggests that they may be deep fake, or they may well have been they might have shut people down and stopped them from getting out, but I don't think that is the case. But let's roll over and get the presentation into place for you all. Now, I was actually intending to just upload this one. Sorry, can you still hear me? I was intending to put this as an upload as a video, but as I sort of mentioned earlier, the thing is with uploads of videos that people don't really bother to watch them all in their entirety, and the sort of fact that you're looking for a little bit of feedback and information towards the subject goes out of the window. So the only sort of real way to spread the information I've found is to put it in the live feed. So rather than upload this, I figured, what the hey, let's do a late night live, and let's see how that goes. So as I said, guys, I'm about to tune off the microphone, but Fair Use Act, this is for educational and informative purposes. Reality Decoded is not a profit organization. We're not monetized. We don't make an absolute penny from any of these endeavors, and it is for information and education purposes only, and any images that we do use are used as part of the Fair Use Act. So if you are all sitting comfortably, I'm going to deactivate the mic and join you in chat as we get ready to enjoy Project Bluebeam Canadian edition.
we have here? Okay, that's a plane. What the hell is that, though? Or is that a plane? Oh my god, but those UFOs are changing color. They're fucking changing color. Look, one of them just disappeared. You see, there was something near that object, and I don't see it now. Okay, there it is. It moved. I was right. Or is that a wire? Okay, I think those are wires, though. But what is that?
It's moving.
Everyone, welcome to Reality Decoded, and this episode is titled Project Bluebeam Canadian Edition, or Close Encounters of the Canadian Kind. Haven't decided right yet, but what you witnessed at the start of this video for the first 6 minutes, for those of you who have paid attention long enough to get to listen to me speak and haven't just found yourself something else to watch or some memes to share and agree with on your social media feeds, we're going to be talking about a recent sighting over Montreal airport just last week on the 3rd of March 2021, and you just got to saw in those first 6 minutes or so a little selection of videos and photographs that captured the event in question that we will be looking into. And we are here at DuckDuckGo, where I put UFO over Montreal Airport 033021. You got your 33 there, people. And there were 3 blue beaming discs that were recorded and captured on video. And these are some of the videos that you have already seen from 3 days ago, 3 days ago, 4 days ago, 4 days ago, and then we go over to 8 years ago. So very, very interesting footage and some very, very interesting images, which we will decode a little bit more as we progress through this upload for you all. We are usually more accustomed to doing things live here at Reality Decoded, but I thought, you know what, it doesn't hurt to upload a video now and then just to sort of test the waters, see how it goes, and sometimes these are more informative to share than the live streams. But anyway, we're over here, and as you said, there's a selection of videos that come up straight away, and the first few posts that you get are of links to YouTube videos. But let's just click on this one here from Reddit, because I've already had a look at this, and it come from 5 days ago, and it says 3 large UFOs over Montreal, and there are a picture again of the same 3 UFOs we saw at the start of this upload. But UFO in Montreal last night, witnessed by thousands of people, and they flew over the Montreal airport and put all flights on hold. And there is a video link here for YouTube, a Facebook post from William Hennessy. And it's false information checked by the good old fact checkers at Facebook. So that's interesting enough. But what I'm suggesting is this is possibly a little Project Bluebeam dummy run, in the fact that, you know, this was witnessed by thousands of people. And here are some of the comments on Reddit. Facebook question mark. Were you not impressed with this random asshole's Facebook page? I don't do Facebook or any other social media. View all 33 comments. Again, 33. 3rd of March, 3-3. 30th of March, rather, 3-3 there in the date alone. And there are some pictures from a little while ago, I believe, not recently. But we click back and we come and look again, YouTube videos. So there's lots of YouTube videos, but not really that many articles. UFOs over Trudeau's airport. Was this an April Fool's Day joke a day too early? Update, April the 1st, 2021. It's currently the 5th of April, the 4th of April. I'm not exactly sure, but this took place just a few days ago, and it took place during a week of which we were doing some alien themed streams on Reality Decoded. We had hoax invaders from space recently, is this Friday, and prior to that we had all out alien agenda, which took place last weekend. So almost ironically and coincidentally, during those weeks of UFO alien related streams here at Ship Video Productions, a real live UFO sighting, if it was a UFO sighting or if it was just a deep state Project Bluebeam dummy run or not, remains to be seen. My thoughts are pushing towards the latter of those 2 options, but an update from Richard offers us this link for those of you that want to add UFOs to your own photographs. Of course, there are lots of of ways to do it in any decent video editor, and you're right, you can sort of add filters and overlays and stuff to make it look as though there are UFOs. But is this getting people ready to, sort of putting these things out into social media? Is this part of the normalization? Is this part of getting used to people seeing reports of UFOs and unidentified objects floating around in the sky, lights flashing and such forth? Is this just, preparing us for what is to come? But yesterday, a neighbor approached the writer of this article and asked if I'd heard about the Montreal last night or not. That would make it the night of March the 30th. He then proclaimed to show me the photos and videos on his phone that he said was rapidly being deleted from social media, and I had to see it before it was gone from Facebook. And that is a little one of these kind of tech giants, social media think tank tactics, to create clickbait articles and quick must watch before it's deleted, and just to encourage you to click into it. And this, I do believe that this is a psyop. This is designed to sort of be a very false looking event, but event that is being spread across social media. And again, is it just part and parcel of the deep state getting us used to seeing these images in the sky? But it is a video and photos that anyone who has been to the movie since 1940 would interpret as alien spacecraft over the Pierre Elliott Trudeau Airport in Montreal. But since the last two ranking US effort to declassify lots of UFO materials. And since, as I was remembered last night, the writer of the article goes on to say that President Trump occasionally hinted at something like this during his tenure as president, I thought it was worth posting here on April 1st, since although it's probably a hoax, at least as hoaxes goes, it was a fun one. But was it a hoax? Are they leading us to believe that it was a hoax because they were experimenting with technology that they don't really want us to know about, and just passed it off as an April Fool's Day prank? And as I said, we're not going to click on that video because we have seen it before. And what is interesting is you can kind of see here that somebody decided to take a picture of somebody taking a picture of the aliens to kind of add to the sort of authenticity. The more people seen it, but unfortunately, not enough people did seem to see it or share many photographs and images for this. It does seem to be the same old photographs and the same old images in all of these videos. Let's have a look. We've got 41 seconds. That was the one I was talking about, with the person looking at them, taking a photo of somebody taking a photo looking at them. But 3 discs, 3 blue lights, whatever you want to say. They're a little bit greeny, or maybe what's that word? Aquamarine? I don't know. But there's certainly some blue lights. Were these photoshopped? Were they hoax? Were they filters put over just random images from Montreal to make it look like these things were hovering over the sky? Was it part of some sort of holographic display to celebrate Easter weekend or something? Who knows? Who knows? Nightclubs and things like that. But with everything locked down, I wouldn't think many people would go to the trouble of advertising their events with flashing lights over the sky. But it sometimes happens here during the summertime in Toronto, that some events and things are going on out in the open, and they do have sort of laser beams and searchlights being bound around off the clouds and stuff. But the writer goes on to say, I saw one clip over the neighbor's shoulder where news anchors appeared to be watching it live and talking about it. But again, it would seem like if this happened, there would be more out there about this event and more videos from more phones. Exactly what I'm saying. And certainly better videos, also longer ones. And I mean, who would film this and just put up a few seconds? Exactly. Unless you went went to a lot of trouble and effort to do this as an effort, which case you would short just a short video, since it's too much work to do a long one. I mean, if I had half an hour of video of UFOs on my phone, I would post the best bits and the whole thing separately for sure. Anyway, April Fools or not, at least it's fun to think about and compared to everything else we deal with on this site. Happy Easter weekend to readers and contributors, the author says. But, I'm mirroring his thoughts exactly then, that somebody's gone to a lot of trouble to saturate social media news feeds and YouTube with these very, very short videos. And again, if I was witnessing that shit, those that do follow Reality Decoded and TSP TV do know I like my long videos. I would have recorded that until the battery ran out or they disappeared, and tried to get the best footage of it I can. But is it all part of a deep state effort, as I keep saying, to normalize us getting used to seeing objects over the sky? And the other interesting fact of the matter is, if when you come over to the news section, there's only really one article, um, and there's nothing else about it. You see, you'd think, as I said, if thousands and thousands of people witnessed this, there'd be some sort of mainstream news agency that reported on it, or at least a few newspaper reports. But this was from 6 days ago. Bright lights in the sky, a look at some of the UFO sightings in Canada last year. Now, this isn't actually related to the UFO sighting, but it was in the Times Colonist, the Canadian press, on the same day, March the 30th, at 20. Sorry, that I thought that was the time then. March the 30th, 2021, and at 030 03:39 p.m. it was published. So again, you've got two more threes in at the time that it was published, and a 9 that you could turn upside down to be a 6 if you needed to. And there's a little alien Kishi tourist attraction, I believe, here in Canada, in Winnipeg. There you go. Sorry, my eyes have gone completely blurry. Let me see if I can make it a little bit bigger. That's better. Sorry about that. But anyway, this isn't in regard or in relation to those lights that were seen over Montreal Airport on the 30th of March 2021. But this article did come out on the same day, and the picture says, Grace Capati looks at a UFO display outside the Little Alien. See what they did there in Rachel, Nevada. Sorry, it's not in Canada at all. The closest town to Area 51, and that was on July the 22nd of 2019, around the time that everybody was going to storm Area 51. They can't stop us all. Do you remember that psyop? But a recent survey posted by Ufology Research in Winnipeg says there was a jump in UFO sightings in Canada last year, the first year of the COVIDian era. The Canadian press goes on to say, but Winnipeg, a recent survey posted by Ufology Research, says there was a jump, as we just read. And here are some of the 1,243 sightings on January 23, 2020. 23, 2 3s, 33 there. Someone shoveling snow off their Toronto balcony reported seeing a 2-meter long object silently levitating about 1.5 meters away. As the person continued staring at the black and silver object, one side folded over and disappeared. Article continues below. There's some ads. On January 23rd, again, 2 3s, 2020, on the same day near Guelph, Ontario, a person reported seeing 2 bright lights following a plane. As the plane went in another direction, the lights continued moving forward at a fast speed, and a massive circular object appeared behind the lights. The observer said it appeared as though the lights were escorting the UFO. February the 3rd, 2020. It was a clear day when a man driving down a rural road in Alberta with his son saw a grey pie-shaped object levitating in the sky just before it rotated, turned back and suddenly disappeared. Within the next minute, they saw a military plane flying towards the mysterious object. They said the round UFO had no windows of markings. July 24th, 2020, a pilot of a North Star Air Limited plane heading to Sachiko Lake, Ontario, from Thunder Bay, Ontario, saw an object pass over the plane's right wing. The pilot said the UFO was about 1 meter in diameter. The plane's radar indicated there was no object in the vicinity. And again, would a radar pick up a holographic image? I don't think it would. August the 30th, a man in Ottawa pulled out his binoculars after observing an object with a flashing light hovering in the cleared sky. He described the chevron-shaped UFO as black with green, blue, and purple with flashing lights underneath. He also said his wife confirmed the object levitated in the sky for around 20 minutes. And this report was first published on March the 30th of 2021, the very, very same day that 3 bright objects were recorded over the skies of Montreal, in particular over the airport, but no one else seemed to bother wanting to write a report on this at all. And as you can see, nothing about Montreal airport having reports of UFOs. Was it an April Fool's prank? Was it a hoax? Was it just a few individuals that work at one of these social media tech tanks where they sort of have dummy profiles and agents that act as though they've got their own opinion, but they're actually kind of using fake profiles to promote and push propaganda that then gets saturated around social media and then is shared and agreed with by the masses. But this was something that I did see a couple of pictures on, and it was interesting again because it took place in Montreal, which isn't exactly down the road from Toronto, but it is a 6-hour or so drive away, but it is in the neighboring province, and it is here north of the border. But as I said, it was a little bit interesting that it happened during a week that we were talking about aliens here at Reality Decoded, and interesting enough, it is in Canada where Reality Decoded is recorded and filmed from, Toronto, Ontario. So let's go and have a little look at some other stuff in regard to Bluebeam and Canadian UFO sightings.
And Richard, there's no shortage of intriguing stories to chat about today. Let's begin with something that many Canadians are struggling to explain.
Turns out, Erica, UFO sightings are through the roof during the pandemic here in Canada. So maybe we've got more time to look up into the sky, or maybe there's actually something going on up there. New report from ufology research says sightings of unidentified flying objects across Canada, including things like levitating discs, erratic spaceships, and floating triangles, increased 46% in 2020 over 2019 levels. There were 1,243 recorded sightings last year, a record for Canada, 30% of the sightings taking place right here in Ontario. And before you go and call all these people crackpots, Erica, we've talked about the fact that the U.S. government has admitted that its military pilots have recorded, things they can't explain, craft moving, defying the laws of physics, and the Pentagon due to release a report before June 1st detailing what the U.S. government knows. So who knows, there might be something to this. You see a lot of strange things. You got to look at me every day, right, Erica?
No, not at all. But I will say for the UFO part of it, I think a small percentage are actually unexplained. The rest of them you can sort of attribute to balloons or planes or something like that.
Or too many cocktails or
maybe
something.
Maybe that too.
There's something to it. Maybe we'll get more in this report. We'll let you know about that when we get it in from the U.S. government.
All right. And speaking of space, we could be seeing some remarkable new video from Mars over the coming month.
If you were a Martian, this would be a UFO to you. This is really cool. This is the the helicopter that's attached to the new rover on Mars. The helicopter is called Ingenuity. There it is now, hanging from the belly of the new rover there, and all its legs are extended, and this is what's going to happen. This is a dramatization, right? In the coming days, they think it might be April 6th, this chopper is going to take flight, and if it works, it's going to be the first powered, controlled flight on another planet. The first flight is only going to take it about 3 meters or 10 feet off the ground for maybe 30 seconds. Subsequent flights, though, it's going to go higher. It's going to have a little camera on it. Really fun fact here, there's a little piece, Erica, of the Wright brothers' first plane from 1903 attached to this little drone. So in just over 100 years, we've gone from the first flight to a flight on another planet. It's wild. That's
pretty incredible, and I think it's so cool that they can just send it instructions from Earth to know discover things on Mars. That's pretty cool.
You can't fly it from Earth. There's like a 12-minute lag time.
Right.
So,
Space to outer space. The number of UFO sightings in Canada is soaring tenfold over the past 25 years. The majority of those flying objects eventually get identified, but a few are never explained, and that's enough to keep some sky watchers wondering if just one sighting could be real. Here's Ross Lord.
Blame it on Hollywood. But an increasing number of Canadians insist the drama surrounding unidentified flying objects is real.
There was a very bright light, and I kept watching, and it just started to come right up, right across, just floating like it was floating.
Sort of like these images from Halifax.
What the hell is that? It's the second time I've seen it.
Fort Saskatchewan, Winnipeg, London, Sudbury.
This Winnipeg science writer has never seen one, but Chris Rutkowski works with a network of observers on an annual UFO survey.
It doesn't automatically say the aliens are invading and landing in Mississauga. What it does say is that people are seeing some very unusual objects, many of which we can't ascribe to a simple explanation.
And UFO sightings in Canada are soaring to new heights. When they started keeping track 25 years ago, there were barely more than 100 a year. Since then, a steady increase, spiking to almost 2,000 2 years ago. Last year was the second highest number on record.
Only about 14 or 15% of the cases in 2013 are unexplained.
Just enough mystery to keep UFO believers wondering.
Occasionally I've noticed things that were moving across the sky that were not planes or satellites, just a different color, a different shape.
And even the experts admit there likely are advanced civilizations out there somewhere.
Maybe there's ways around the laws of physics or ways of traveling that we haven't even conceived of yet. And why they would want to come to Earth, I don't know. Might be the scenery or the weather.
Maybe the Canadian winter isn't so bad if you're watching from a safe distance. Ross Lord, Global News.
The late, great astrophysicist Stephen Hawking believed with more than 100 billion stars in our galaxy, the odds are pretty good that aliens exist. And he's not alone. Every day, people across Canada report seeing a UFO. And while most can be identified, as CTV's Janet Dirks reports, some things just can't be explained.
I got it. Oh my gosh.
Oh.
What the hell? That strange light in the sky is one of 1,100 UFO sightings in Canada last year. According to the annual survey released by Ufology Research of Manitoba, there are at least 3 such sightings in the country every day.
UFO reports are still a thing. People are reporting them in greater and greater numbers every year.
Montreal is Canada's UFO capital, with 74 sightings reported last year, followed by Toronto, then Vancouver. It's not that these cities are on an extraterrestrial highway. It's a matter of population, says the report's author.
If a tree's falling in the forest, you need somebody to hear it. So if there's a UFO in the sky, the more people around to see it, the more reports you get.
None of the sightings matched the drama of the X-Files.
The truth is out there.
But something was out there, according to 10 campers in Quebec who reported a triangular object that hovered and then flew off. One of them drew the scene. In Oshawa, a wildlife photographer captured an odd-shaped disc in the sky. This scientist says people should be critical, but still open-minded.
There's a few that really just get me scratching my head saying, what could it have been?
The survey says of the 1,100 sightings, only 8% are unexplained,
and that can be whittled down to 1% of so-called high-quality unknowns.
In fact, none of these cases, shout that aliens are here, but what they do say is that people are reporting things, and maybe science should take a closer look at some of them.
Since the survey began nearly 30 years ago, more than 19,000 Canadians have reported seeing something strange in the sky that makes them think we're not alone. Janet Dirks, CTV News, Calgary.
So we just saw then a couple of examples of how the Canadian mainstream news media is reporting on UFO sightings in its daily broadcasting, in its repetitious news feeds that run 24/7. If you watch it long enough, you'll hear it multiple times. But here we are once again back at DuckDuckGo, where we have typed in the search bar Canadian UFO sightings, and straight up Canadians observed more UFOs in 2020, and that was from 5 hours ago. From CTV News, UFO sightings in Canada skyrocketed in 2020, the year of COVID-19, and this is from the Royal Canadian, the Radio Canada International. So let's have a little look what they're saying. There is, I think, an artist's depiction of a UFO sighting. I don't think that was actually a sighting that was seen over UFO, but who knows. Let's have a look. The shapes and colors of reported UFOs tend to vary wildly. A new report from ufology research in Winnipeg says Canadians who say they spotted unidentified flying objects increased by 46% in 2020. So UFO sightings in Canada skyrocketed in 2020, the year of COVID-19. And, at the start of the COVID pandemic, I did suggest, is COVID a big cover-up for the deep state's final push towards the new world order? And they're going to unleash all barrels with Project Bluebeam and introduce us to a hoax phantom menace from outer space. We're already in fear of one phantom menace, the COVID-19. They just rebranded and renamed the common cold and influenza. Nobody's dying of the flu anymore, but lots and lots of people are dying of the new, worse than the flu, COVID-19. Has a 99% survival rate. But anyway, we're not talking about vaccines in COVID. We're talking about the COVID smokescreen and the UFO agenda that is hidden behind it. And, as I've been following over this past year, there's not a week that goes by that doesn't see a UFO report or sighting being reported about on either the mainstream or some pretty reputable, so-called reputable publications. Of course, we do know that most of the publications are owned by a very small fraction of individuals. They're all working hand in glove to use these outlets as tools of manipulation and a device of delivering you your daily propaganda and mind control. But a new survey suggests that a number of Canadians who say that they've spotted unidentified flying objects last year took a giant leap upward. The report released Tuesday, UFO research in Winnipeg said sightings of UFOs across the country increased by 46%. Way to repeat yourself multiple times in the opening paragraph. But Chris Rutkowski, perhaps Canada's most widely known student of UFOs, told the Canadian press in a story published on Tuesday that 1,243 sightings of levitating discs, erratic spaceships, and floating triangular objects were reported. And there is the beloved E.T., the extraterrestrial Steven Spielberg creation 1981 movie that won the hearts of millions, but was also a movie that did introduce me a little bit to the concept of UFOs and government cover-ups at a very young age. If you can remember, the government were trying to track down E.T. and in the original version of the movie were about to gun down the kids before E.T. used the Force and made the bikes fly off into the sunset in order to rendezvous with his ship that would take him back home. But while some of the sightings wound up being satellites, a plane flying at an awkward angle, or light plane tricks, Rutkowski said 13% were unexplained, an average that has remained fairly steady for years. There is a persistent phenomenon that won't go away. Rotofsky said to the Canadian press, and he went on to say he has collected unusual sightings in the sky since 1989. He doubts UFOs are being operated by extraterrestrials, in what he suggested then that these are Earth creations, man-made objects that are possibly, far greater in advancements of technology than they allow us to know about. These are the sort of Area 51 projects that go on out in the desert, and all these UFO sightings, little more than that. But what is the purpose behind all of this is, I do believe that, this is the next false flag about to happen. And for some time I have been, mentioning that it's a matter of time before we get blue-beamed. And we see a hoax, false flag, psychological operation in the form of a UFO arrival, be it an invading, angry, aggressive, warlike, or maybe they're going to come in benevolence and offer us all salvation with cures to all known diseases. Who knows? We are choosing our own reality. They could always go with a friendly approach, and then just like the TV show V, they could suddenly turn hostile once they've won our trust. But he suggested there could be two reasons why more Canadians saw objects that seemed out of this world. Early in the pandemic, the US government released videos of unidentified aerial phenomena, as they are now calling UFOs, UAPs, and they were recorded by the Navy. That drove some people to look a little more carefully at the sky and believe that UFOs are a little more popular and frequent than one believes. It is also possible, he said, that the pandemic has caused people to think a bit more about their lives and wonder whether we are alone in the universe. And is this the purpose of the pandemic? Get more people at home, thinking about life in general and where we're going in the future. And while they're at home, start projecting images and test flying your advanced technology flying craft that would look like alien objects to unknowing eyes. And any any brand new unseen technology is indistinguishable from magic, or maybe extraterrestrial origins. But that above, some people look a little bit more carefully into the sky and believe that UFOs are a little more than a popular and frequent that one believes. Sorry if I read that wrong. But it's also possible, he said, that the pandemic has caused people to think a bit more about their lives and wonder whether we are alone in the universe. Sorry, I read that twice. But people were spending more time with their families in their own backyards and were appreciating nature and what's surrounding them. And UFOs are part of human culture, he said. This is probably a way of just imagining what life is in a universe beyond the borders of our little blue speck in space. So that was that one particular article. Let's click back and let's look at the one that came out 5 hours ago at time of reporting. And again, this is from CTV News. A drop in UFO sightings in Manitoba during the pandemic, which is a little bit different to what we are being told elsewhere, that everywhere else in Canada they were on the rise by 46%, but not in Winnipeg. Manitoba, which Manitoba is, or like Montreal, is a hotspot for UFO sightings. Let's look at this video.
Now, in most of Canada, more people are seeing unidentified flying objects. This is according to a recent survey by Ufology Research. Sightings of UFOs increased by 46% in 2020. This morning, we're speaking with Chris Radikowski about this high-flying report. Good morning, Chris.
Good morning.
Now, can you outline the findings of this report?
Sure. There were about 1,243 UFO reports that were recorded in 2020, which is significantly more than the year before. And it seems to have something to do with the pandemic, although we're not entirely sure. But it does seem that Canadians are seeing more UFOs during lockdown.
Okay, well, where does Manitoba stand in all this?
Well, Manitoba actually bucked the trend. In fact, we only had somewhere between 45 and 50 reports last year, as opposed to 75 or more in the year before. Quebec was also down, but Manitoba had the most significant decrease, and we're not entirely sure why. Maybe We're a little more down to earth or grounded. Not sure, but for some reason the Manitoba bucked the trend. But overall, nationally, there was a very significant increase.
Well, we were kind of speculating here, and we were wondering if maybe the rise in numbers has to do with more people being outside.
No question. That would have something to do with it. People weren't going inside to venues as they would have during the pandemic. They were forced to be in smaller venues or outside in their backyards, camping, that type of thing. So it certainly had something to do with the fact that people were out maybe enjoying the night sky a little bit more. And maybe there's something psychological going on in the sense that we're feeling a little bit vulnerable because of the pandemic, and we're looking up. Maybe somebody up there has a solution.
All right. Well, I'm certain that some of these unidentified flying objects can be identified. There's a certain portion that can be explained away, but what about the portion that can't?
Well, absolutely. In fact, the vast majority of cases either had explanations or possible or probable explanations, and only a relatively small fraction, about 13% last year, it's actually a little bit higher than it's been in previous years, didn't have an explanation. And those range from cases where people would see triangular objects floating over their heads to unusual objects, a series of lights that performed aerobatic maneuvers that didn't seem to be created by airplanes and stars and satellites. So those are the ones that really make you pause and think about what's going on.
Well, sir, what is your thoughts on a personal level? Do you think we have been visited by ET?
Well, as an astronomer, I think it's possible that there's life out there somewhere, but whether they're coming here all that vast distance is really a big question, and I don't see the evidence for it necessarily. The reports are quite interesting, but they don't prove that aliens are visiting us.
All right. Well, what advice would you give a human experiencing their first contact?
Well, if you see a UFO, I would say first try and get somebody to watch it with you. In fact, we've seen some suggestions over the years through the survey that more than one person sees UFOs at one time. So try and find somebody to support what you're seeing. then make a note of what time it is and where you are and what direction you're looking, and really just try and get a good idea of what it is you're looking at. It turns out that in many cases have explanations. We've had the SpaceX and the Starlink satellites that are going up all the time. So there are some other things.
Excellent, sir. We thank you so much for telling us all about this. I, for one, welcome our alien overlords.
Indeed.
So that was very interesting there. You heard, hopefully you caught, he said, maybe someone out there has a solution. Maybe they're going to bring the final solution to Earth, do a little bit of depopulating, just like those National Socialist buggers back in World War II. But also, the repetition of, people are at home and looking up at the skies and they're outside more due to the pandemic. And is this the purpose of the pandemic? Is this why we're all being locked down in such forth and not being unable to go indoors as much as we once used to go to movie theaters or shopping malls or places like that where people would gather rather than being outside looking up at the sky? And is this the whole entire purpose of it? While we are locked down and nowhere else or nothing better to do, we look up at the sky, and this is how they can then project or use their new highly advanced technology as test flights for our own entertainment, and these sightings then get reported and help fuel the alien agenda, if you catch my drift. But
now in most of Canada,
sorry, I pressed that twice then. But Winnipeg, a new report shows that Canadians spotted an increase in UFOs last year, though this was not the case for Manitobans. But again, repeating repetition is one of the easiest forms of mind control, and they keep repeating the same thing. They're on the rise. People are spending more time with each other outside, and this is the reason for it. But according to this Chris Rutkowski chap, he found that there were about 1,243 UFO reports, as we saw in the other article. They're all reading from the same script, and this is sort of how the mainstream are pushing this agenda. And as it said previously, it is on a 46% rise. Though he's not entirely sure, he said, this increase does seem to have something to do with the pandemic. Indeed, it does. Is it all connected? The psychological operation within the psychological operation, the disassociation with the old ways, the dismantlement of, how modern society used to be and how they are introducing the new normal. Is new normal going to include alien visitations? Who knows? But bucking the trend, one part of Canada that didn't see an increase in UFO sightings was Manitoba. And Rutkowski said there were somewhere between 45 and 50 reports in the province last year, and the year before there were more than 75. Manitoba has the most significant decrease, and we're not entirely sure why that is, he said. Maybe we're a little bit more down to earth or grounded. I'm not sure, but for some reason, Manitoba bucked the trend. But why is it rising in Canada? Rutkowski once again retorts from his rhetoric of propaganda that one of the possible reasons for the rise in UFO sightings across Canada could have to do with the fact that people were going outside more during the pandemic. They were forced into smaller venues, a captive audience, should we say, or outside in their backyards, camping and that type of thing. So, with more eyes looking, then there's more possibility that people will see and report these things. And, it's not just Canada, it is a worldwide phenomenon. 2020 saw more record UFO sightings than anyone. And is this the deep state's final push towards the one world order to give us a threat that we really, truly can be unified against, unlike the pandemic, where some people are led to believe it's real, other people are screaming it's a hoax. Don't believe the hype, take off your mask, yada yada, whoop-de-woo, ray-tay-tay. This is the divide and conquer. This is how they can see who's obedient, who's disobedient. This is how they can monitor and data collect our thoughts and opinion towards the government. They're also creating, a doomsday type scenario for those that believe that, oh my goodness, we're in fear, we could die at any minute if we go out from this disease. And the paranoia, the fear, the unknowing, the uncertainty, this is all very, very similar to the psychological effects of cold warfare that we experienced during the 1980s in the aftermath of World War II. Who's going to press the button, who's going to unlaunch their nuclear arsenal first? And we lived in that fear and threat of nuclear Armageddon. In the 21st century, up until last year, our threat and fear was that at any given moment, in any given time, radicalized terrorists could carry out acts of terrorism on our streets. And through a bunch of series of staged false flag events depicting such events of domestic and radicalized religious terrorism around the globe, they help to support the fear of the propaganda for the PSYOP, and are the seeds of the fear and planting of the pandemic just a guise, just a cover screen, while the elites can go out of their way to do some practice dummy runs with all their holographic technology and their very highly advanced spacecraft that are actually, built in an Earth bunker and not from outer space at all. And is this, why we are seeing these things in the sky, that these are dust test runs, dummy runs, checking if it works, in a little bit like Project Bluebeam book back in the 50s, that they sort of used to go out and investigate UFO sightings and then discredit them as being weather balloons or satellites that have fallen out of the sky. I think they were really researching to see what people saw, and if they believed that it was extraterrestrial or alien in origin rather than Earth-based. And if people did believe that they thought it was of an extraterrestrial origin, then great, we've done a good job cloaking and disguising our earthbound technology as alien technology, if you get what I'm saying. But what are these UFOs? There is said to be an explanation for the vast majority of UFO sightings, but he noted that last year 13% of the reports didn't have an explanation. And again, you know, the Pentagon, Ministry of Defense, many government agencies have released files about, you know, unidentified flying objects, which say, you know, we just can't explain them. They're possibly from out of this world. But he said these unexplained sightings range from cases where people would see triangular objects like a pyramid, the all-seeing eye over their heads, and unusual objects, series of lights that performed acrobatic maneuvers. These could be drones, or that oh sorry, and the maneuvers that didn't seem to be created by aeroplane, and stars and satellites. Those are the ones that make you pause to think what's going on. But he said he does believe the possibility there is some life beyond Earth, and there is no evidence to suggest that aliens are visiting us. But as he said, there is a little bit more from the mainstream here in Canada about UFO sightings. And let's just go down again, dropping sightings in Manitoba 6 hours ago. UFO sightings surge, but not in Manitoba, from the Winnipeg Sun. Great fixations of Canada, UFOs and hockey. That was a day ago. Bright lights in the sky. Look at some of the UFO sightings. We've already saw that article previously in this upload. Mystery and Milieu survey says Canadians have seen more UFOs through the pandemic. Again, there's a picture of Rutkovsky with ET and a recognizable gray alien. Something about Schitt's Creek, but we investigated an alleged UFO sighting near Ottawa. That was from 18 days ago. I was a teenage UFO investigator who explored an infamous alien sighting near Ottawa, CBC, 18 days ago. That sounds like a movie from the 1950s. I was a teenage UFO investigator. I don't know if that would be the voice that it would be delivered in, but nevertheless, you know what I'm getting at. But the truth is out there. The alien hunting hotspots 44 days ago. Upcoming UFO report will be difficult to explain. Former National Intelligence Officer says from 14 days ago. Oh, giant Bigfoot trap. That might be something to look at another day. But let's look on this one here from Yahoo News. I don't know if this is from Canada. No, this is a USA Today report. Move over Roswell, New Mexico. You're not the only place where extraterrestrial sightings occur. Sorry, there's no music or anything here. This is the top 5 spots for Number 2, Montana. And number 1, Washington. Interestingly enough, Washington D.C. was where one of the most famous UFO sightings was seen way back in the 1950s. And that would probably be, you know, if the aliens did come down with the narrative of "take me to your leader," who would the most powerful person on Earth be? He'd be living at the White House probably. Although, you know, it's debatable if Biden can even stand up to piss anymore. But whether or not he is the most powerful man on the planet, it remains to be seen, down to personal opinion. My opinion is he's just the puppet of the elites whose strings are being pulled by unseen hands. But there is an instance where we don't have good explanations for some of the things that we've seen, and when that information becomes declassified, I'll be able to talk a little bit more about that. Former Director of National Intelligence, John Ratcliffe, told Fox News Maria Bartiromo on Friday. Marta gets former DNI John Ratcliffe to talk about UFOs ahead of a deadline for the government to disclose what it knows about them. Usually we have multiple sensors that are picking up these things. There is actually quite a few more than have been made public. And there's another little video.
Actually,
is a program that's been in place for a few years in terms of a task force that has been there under the National Defense Authorization Act. But as you correctly point out, Maria, there's now a report that will be issued by the Pentagon, by the Secretary of Defense, and the Director of National Intelligence. I actually wanted to get this information out and declassified before I left office, but we weren't able to get it down into an unclassified format that we could talk about quickly enough. But frankly, there are a lot more sightings than have been made public. Some of those have been declassified. When we talk about sightings, we're talking about objects that have been seen by Navy or Air Force pilots or have been picked up by satellite imagery that frankly engage in actions that are difficult to explain, that movements that are hard to replicate, that we don't have the technology for, or traveling at speeds that exceed the sound barrier without a sonic boom. So in short, things that we are observing that are difficult to explain. And so there's actually quite a few of those, and I think that information is being gathered and will be put out in a way that the American people can see. We always, when we see these things, Maria, we always look for a plausible explanation. Weather can cause disturbances, visual disturbances. Sometimes we wonder whether or not our adversaries have technologies that are a little bit further down the road than we thought or that we realized. But there are instances where we don't have good explanations for some of the things that we've seen. And, when that information becomes declassified, I'll be able to talk a little bit more about that.
Can you tell us where it was seen?
Actually, all over the world. There have been sightings all over the world. And when we talk about sightings, the other thing I will tell you is it's not just a pilot or just a satellite or some intelligence collection. Usually we have multiple sensors that are picking up these things. And so, again, some of this are just their unexplained phenomenon. And there's actually quite a few more than have been made public. So I think it'll be healthy for as much of this information to get out there as possible so that the American people can see.
So there you go. That was that individual chap in Ratcliffe individual chatting about his involvement with the government in declassification stuff we've heard and seen before here at Reality Decoded in some previous alien related streams. But although this isn't Canadian related, it just goes to show that the mainstream are all up on this alien agenda. And we're not going to read any more of that because we pretty much heard what he said. But at the bottom of there's some other articles. UFO sightings to be made public in a new report. The former chief intelligence says glowing blue UFO spotted in Hawaii sky. Let's click on that. Project Bluebeam Hawaiian style. Sorry, I just can't there. Let's look at it simplified. Aloha aliens, glowing blue UFO spotted in the Hawaii sky. Hawaii Sky 5-0. You know how it goes. The UFO had a glowing blue color and an oblong shape. Witnesses said it was described by one onlooker as larger than a telephone pole. FAA officials said there were no aircraft incidents or accidents in the area at the time. 2020 went out with a weird vibe in Hawaii. Last week on December 29th at roughly 8:30 p.m., eyewitnesses on Hawaiian island of Oahu saw a UFO in the night sky, prompting several 911 calls. It was recently reported. The UFO had a glowing blue color and an oblong shape. The UFO, which was caught on video, was described by one onlooker as larger than a phone pole, and it sailed across the sky for several minutes before crashing into the oceans, witnesses said. Honolulu police reported UFO sightings to the Federal Aviation Administration. Law enforcement contacted the FAA the night of Tuesday, December the 29th, about a witness report of a plane down in that area, a possible plane down in that area. An FAA spokesman, Ian Gregor, told USA Today, we followed up on a report but had no aircraft disappear off our radars, and we had no reports of overdue or missing aircraft. The sighting was unlikely to be an extraterrestrial, as is the case with most UFOs. Is so even there, this unlikely. This one was unlikely to be a UFO, but most of them are extraterrestrial. Overall, it was just another strange incident there. But I think we actually did see that video in one of those previous streams before. But as you can see, guys, there is no end to UFO related content on a lot of major platforms being um, posted to the internet. So without further ado, let's have a little quick look at some deep state depopulation agendas through fake hoax alien invasions before we wrap things up here. Alrighty guys, here we are at the winterwatch.net. Alien Project Bluebeam PSYOP to distract from mandatory vaccines, December the 8th, 2020. Now, don't want to be that guy, but told you so. I was one of the first people to suggest that possibly COVID-19 was a big cover-up as the elites roll out the final preparations for Project Bluebeam and do a few dummy runs and test drills just to sort of see if the technology is working, get a few results and feedback via videos and posts that make it to social media, YouTube, etc. Yada yada, whoop-de-woo, ray tay tay. But it was me over at TSP TV that suggested this some time ago, and this individual, Russ Winter at Winterwatch, suggests the same. But he's suggesting it is to distract us from mandatory vaccines. Maybe the aliens might bring a cure to all diseases and offer it us up in a form of a vaccine. Who knows? The alien deception. This is quite a long article, guys, but I'm going to read it in its entirety because it's pretty interesting. The only thing left in the new Underworld Order's bag of tricks is for the aliens to invade, in brackets, Project Bluebeam. And as I said, guys, there's an extensive amount of information on TSP TV regarding Project Bluebeam and the COVID cover-up. But do an international broadcast. For the aliens to invade, do an international broadcast. Sorry, lost my train of thought then. So anyway, the only thing left in the New World Order's bag of tricks is for the aliens to invade, do an international broadcast, tell us to trust world government, be COVID safe, and cut carbon emissions, all while wearing Black Lives Matter t-shirts. Now, up until the Black Lives Matter t-shirts, that's pretty much the plot of the day the Earth stood still, in which a UFO flying saucer landed on the White House lawns in Washington, and a robot come out and a humanoid character alien, and warned of impending doom if Earth didn't pull their shit together and get their acting gear and de-arm themselves as a result of not depopulating. But again, these hoax alien invaders could do quite a lot of depopulating before maybe the earth germs of COVID-19 destroys them. And then once the earth germs, they killed the aliens, they could kill you next. Best get your vaccine so that we'll be stronger than the aliens if they come back. But the next hoax is being prepared, most likely as a look over their decoy for mandatory scandemic vaccines and the Great Reset. I actually believe the reverse, that the pandemic, the vaccines, wear a mask, don't wear a mask, that is the distraction, that is the decoy, that's what's got everyone busy in what most people were paying attention to, and while they can do, while people in the population is doing that, then the elites and these deep state folk can use the distraction to their advantage to put all the pieces in place. And we've got satellites being pumped up into air week after week by Elon Musk. We got NASA landing on Mars with a fake helicopter, probably the same studio that they used for the moon landing. But is a fake alien invasion in the works? With the Branch Covidian cult firmly established, like that Branch Covidians, the scene seems ripe to run on at least part of the pajama people. the Branch Covidians. That might be an interesting article to read. But the Jerusalem Post reports that a former Israeli security chief, Haim Ashad, has revealed that aliens from a galactic federation have been in contact with the United States and Israel for years. But humanity is not ready to know this. Hoax alert, they only communicate with the US and Israel. That should say a lot. But the truth may be out there, but nowhere near as there as this tale. Space aliens have reached an agreement with the US government to stay mum on the experiments they conduct on Earth, as well as their secret base on Mars. Until mankind is ready to accept them, the former head of Israel's space program claimed in a new interview. Now, again, this Mars psyop is going on again. Well, COVID, everybody's got their eyes on Mars. Could this be War of the Worlds about to unfold? Are these little drones and helicopters and rovers that are supposedly up on Mars being controlled by NASA down here on Earth? Are they going to bump into some unbeknown creatures or silos or missile launching pads and discover that, oh my goodness, look, there's a whole invading Martian army waiting to descend on Earth? But the aliens, according to this Israeli individual, has asked not to announce that we are here because humanity is not ready to accept them. But getting a clue, the missing monoliths. And of course, these appear and disappear monoliths are being dismissed as art pieces. The question begs, however, why are they showing up at all? Psyops. And we did cover some of the monoliths over on TSP TV as part of our alien agenda. Again, very 2001-y. Is this all part of the seed in the plantation of the psyop, the alien invasion? Is this them, using sort of popular fictional pieces of entertainment such as movies and TV shows? Are they using all these as the predictive programming and the device to normalize such things? And are they borrowing from the scripts to simulate our reality into an augmented alien invasion? But the Utah monolith enchanted millions, and then it was gone, leaving mysteries behind. And then all of a sudden they discovered another one in Spain, and there is the city council of the Spanish town has asked the population not to go to the place where the strange object is found. There is the strange object. And then a second one popped up in Romania, and there is a picture of it there from the BBC News. Source reports of an Isle of Wight monolith. If you don't know the Isle of Wight, it's a tiny little island just off the south coast of England. A nice place to go in the summertime, seaside, fun fairs, all that kind of good stuff. And here is a little bit of Space Odyssey, which we won't click on and play because I'm pretty sure that we will get some copyright strikes. But Bill Cooper of Behold the Pale Horse, an inspiration of mine, mentioned in his book, as I just mentioned, Behold a Pale Horse, that they used this advanced hologram technology. Negative energy via fear is their currency. So the negative energy of fear is being produced by COVID-19. Wear a mask, get a vaccine. This is fearing millions of people and creating negative energy. Once the negative energy is created, then they are halfway to their goal, in which they do to delay or slow down the great awakening of the masses. That is the currency, right, of psychological operation. Sorry, I lost my train of thought there. Please excuse me. A discussion of Project Bluebeam. A Luger press at ABC have suddenly uncovered a formerly secret and now closed Department of Defense program investigating UFO reports. A simple Google search reveals more UFO coverage from an assortment of dubious media supporters. Dr. Stephen Greer, the creator of the widely viewed documentary Unacknowledged, is also noticing a worrying pattern from Lugan Press Publishing, Luger Press pushing an extraterrestrial intervention and UFO narrative. Greer is concerned about an ET false flag, commonly referred to as Project Bluebeam. I watched the Greer documentary, this is the author, on Amazon, and found it really interesting, although not totally convincing. And I believe that Greer is part of the deep state psyop in normalizing the UFO agenda, and the fact he's mentioning Project Bluebeam is the sort of trait of controlled opposition, give a little bit of truth amongst with a lot of misinformation, but at the same time this is controlled opposition controlling the narrative of the skeptics, but the author is skeptical of the whole issue of ETs. Maybe it was just Quinky Dink that 1947 marked both the eruption of a UFO law and the creation of the CIA, but a Bluebeam false flag is another matter. Winter Watch is reporting on this not as a prediction, but rather as a general awareness exercise should something unusual happen. A little bit like myself, I'm trying to bring you as much information so you can be aware of any possible false flag psychological events that take place in your neighborhood or around the world in the coming weeks and months. But a universal belief in a new age religion is essential to implementing the new world order. In principle, Bluebeam would make use of the skies as a movie screen as a space-based laser-generating satellites project simultaneously images for the four corners of the planet in every language and dialect. It deals with the religious aspect of the New World Order and is deception and seduction on a massive scale. Read Alien Abduction, another Tavistockian trauma-based mind-op. Indeed we do, because we've also talked an awful lot about Tavistock Institute here at Reality Decoded and formerly at TSPTV. So an urgent note here is that the recent New York Times story is couched from a threat office of the Pentagon. This clear ramp up to false flag fake disclosure designed to prepare people for a threat from outer space. So warmongers and war profiteers have a new bigger enemy. Beware. And the threat to the entire globe would be the unifying threat for humanity. They could possibly, this is the purpose of the fake alien invasion, is so that everybody would put aside their differences in order to unite against the common foe. Once the common foe has possibly been defeated after doing a little bit of depopulating to Earth, there may be the aftermath. We need a one world order to protect us from such things happening again. But dubious former Senator Harry Reid is a front and center in his latest story and superheaded the funding of a $22 million boondoggle DoD program. It turns out that Reid's friend Bob Bigelow, who owns Bluebeam, who owns an aerospace company and founded a hotel chain, is a supposed UFO believer. In fact, he thinks extraterrestrials regularly visit Earth. Bigelow also bought Skinwalker Ranch, another interesting myth, urban legend, phenomenon, skinwalkers. But he bought the ranch in Utah, a place rifle with UFO sightings. Moreover, Bigelow was also a big donor to Harry Reid's re-election campaign, so Harry thought he'd return the favor, and voila, Reid used an earmark to start up the UFO program. Another dubious ET believer is John Podesta. I wouldn't trust any of these people alone with my 95-year-old mother, not even for 2 minutes. Also revealed by WikiLeaks were emails between astronaut Edgar Mitchell and Podesta about the Vatican holding evidence of ETI. Here is a video there. Let's have a see what this is all about. How long is it? Oh, that wasn't really worth watching at all, was it? Never mind. Don't know what's going on there. But as First Lady Hillary Clinton was commiserating with Lawrence Rockefeller, something we featured in the previous live stream, Hoax Invaders from Space, and she was cohorting with him on his UFO initiative. And yes, a Winter Watch critic might accuse us of hostile attribution bias, to which we respond guilty. Do you actually trust any of these aforementioned actors? I certainly don't. But unlike real conspiracies that the Winter Watch covers, UFOs are popularized in the Lugan press. For example, a couple of times a year in between his Celeb Fest of Stars, Larry King hosts ufologists who regale the talk show Kingpin with an endless parade of blurry photographs, grainy photo videos, and breathless tales of government cover-ups. Yes, here we go again, blurry and grainy. Winter Watch hostile attribution bias guilty again. Do you trust blurry and grainy? And there is a video that we did see in Invaders, Hoax Invaders from Space, for the last stream that we did here at Reality Decoded, as we also saw these videos on Ronald Reagan talking about how the universe might, not the universe, how the world might respond to a universal threat from outer space. But now there are different kinds of sky sightings. On November the 3rd, 2017, a large and unusual night sky display of high-tech drones was put on over Folsom, California. You can hear the cognoscenti really eating this stuff up. This should give readers an idea of the technology that can be employed, and if they deploy this publicly, we really have no other idea of what other more advanced sightings there is up their sleeve. And here is a video. Let's watch this one. Hopefully that's going to be a little bit better.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't think they're drones. I think they're all attached to whatever one kind of aerial display. Who knows what's going on? All I'm knowing is that this is something I've never seen before. Have you? Can you explain this to me? That's what we're here doing right now, is trying to get the people's opinions from around the world. Have you seen anything like this? This is something unusual and unlike your usual drone displays and aerial advertisements.
Let's just say if they are drones, which I'm going to give a high likelihood that they are, that they're going to be, for the future, it's going to be hard to discern what's UFO and what's not. Maybe that's the new technology. They're trying to confuse the masses on what's up in our skies.
Absolutely, there are projects out there, and people are stating that there will be some kind of maybe false flag alien invasion, and this lighter than air technology right now to create this massive illusion, which I believe is probably man-made, but a new kind of technology that's being experimented on towards the people of maybe a false invasion of someone or something not of this planet.
Yeah, we're looking at AI in the skies right now, robotic technology, aerial technology that hasn't been seen, and this is another one for the books. What's up next?
Absolutely, and again, is this one object moving around with a bunch of lights attached to it, or are these multiple objects in sequence via AI drone technology? That's what we're kind of scratching our heads on, and I'm sure we're probably going to find answers here very soon, but we wanted to share this with you as it's coming into us right here at Third Phase Moon. Brent, thanks for joining us, and don't forget, we're going to be broadcasting Friday night, taking your calls from around the world. If you've seen a UFO, we want to see it. Have you been abducted by aliens? We want to hear it. Call into the radio show, 347-934-0378. Keep your eyes on the skies, everybody. We're not alone. Thanks, Brent.
Well, we're going to stop it there because I think it's pretty much the same. But there you can see examples of possibly drones that are lighting up the sky. Was that what we saw at the start of this video when we saw those blue objects above Montreal Airport there? Some Bluebeam experiments. Let's have a little look at this one. How long is this going to be? 3 minutes and 36 minutes. So they were pretty interesting, don't you think? Very, very spooky in some respects. But again, all evidence that could suggest that this was holographic technology being used against us. If it's not holographic technology, what the hell is it, right? Special effects, faked videos, who knows? Something is being producing these images, and maybe something is causing this phenomenon in the air above. And is that something? What is the technology behind Project Bluebeam? But do you think that is imminently in the works? A more immediate reality is an AI computer generated imagery, CGI in brackets, and dense holograms for smaller scale trickery and staged deception. One thing Winterwatch knows is for a fact that the New World Order crime syndicates has not only an interest in relentlessly hoaxing the general population, but the means as well to do such. The theory holds that they use dense hologram imagery combined with voice to skull technology, and possibly a good dose of suggestibility via drug aerosols in the air or put into our drinking water. Also, having the subliminal implantation of constantly hearing it and seeing it in your news feeds and on mainstream news broadcasts, in amongst all the COVID fear mongering propaganda. But another variation would be, and we think more likely this is Winter Watch, not myself, would be that there's some type of smaller scale religious messiah or prophecy hocus pocus and psyop amid an evangelical rapture. Branch Covidians, Judicus, and New Age types. Perhaps this would be the tide to Jerusalem. No doubt the CS has the data to determine, the crime syndicate, the data to determine just how gullible and controllable the population or segments of the population are and what would be required. And again, something that they use memes for is to acquire this data. If you're sharing and agreeing with religious memes, then maybe, okay, these people really, really do believe in this stuff. Maybe we will go with the religious icon holographs instead of the aliens. See what I'm saying, guys? It's all for a purpose. It is all connected. There is all a reason behind anything. But a lizard-licking crime syndicate psychologist, one James V. McConnell, boasted in 1970s issue of Psychology Today. The day has come when we can combine sensory deprivation with drug hypnosis and astute manipulation of reward and punishment to gain, again, likes and thumbs up, smiley emojis, cuddly emojis, all of that is your reward for sharing and agreeing with your data collection that will be used against you in a psyop sometime near you soon. But almost absolute control over an individual's behavior is possible, and it should be then possible to achieve a very rapid and highly effective type of positive brainwashing that would allow us to make dramatic changes in a person's behavior and personality. Now they can do that to the masses via social media and mainstream media, mind control and brainwashing. I don't know what this is all about, the lizard there, but we have seen in recent years more of this alien threat theme in entertainment. When the big show is put on, the god figure or messiah will speak in every language. Artificial talk or voice to skull is personalized to each individual based on his belief, can possibly be delivered to you via your cellular device or your smart technology. Again, your little phone knows exactly what you share and agree with and what your beliefs are, what your thoughts are, and it can target you individually to believe whatever, and maybe transmit the voice to skull into your brain once Project Bluebeam is active and predetermined, pre-installed applications go live. It's not too unrealistic to think any of that is possible. But the ETI or alien threat could be run concurrent with this supernatural and spooky visions. could be conjured up to severely traumatize the population, perhaps driving a mass suicide. There's also a little bit of depopulating going on in mass suicides for sure, for sure. Then a contrived salvation is offered by the crime syndicate, aka the One World Order. Augmented reality, dragon flies over Korean baseball stadium. Unfortunately, that video has been removed, but augmented reality is another thing we have been talking about, not just here, but at reality, TSP TV, as well as Reality Decoded. But there you go, guys. We're going to start to wrap this up very, very shortly. But there was a little bit on Project Bluebeam, and is this a distraction? And is the pandemic all a distraction, or is Bluebeam going to be a distraction? But if somebody else is telling you what I was telling you over a year ago, that COVID-19 is a cover-up for something, and is that something Project Bluebeam?
In the 1990s, I was read into or briefed on a project that involved an interagency group that had the ability to disclose the ET presence in a way that would frighten everyone on Earth and convince the public that there was an alien threat, which is completely false. It's all a lie. And that this had been developed in the 50s, and they had been developing the means and the psychological warfare to make that happen. So in the 1990s, I wrote a paper called When Disclosure Serves Secrecy. And what that means is there are two kinds of disclosures that might happen. A truthful one that is also a hopeful one, which is what I gave up my medical career to try to actuate, do. And then there's the one that is spun by the spin meisters in Washington and at the Pentagon and CIA, which runs like this. It's true, the UFOs are real. They are here as a threat. They're violating our airspace. They're a national security and a threat to our sovereignty. I'm quoting.
The purpose of the program, Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, was really designed to do just that. From a national security perspective, identify those things that we see and try to ascertain and determine if that information is a potential threat to national security.
And we knew this was going to happen because I had met with people who were in these classified projects, who were on interagency committees that had everything set to roll this out, and they were just waiting for the right time. The Soviet Union has ended. We have the global terrorism. While it's still there, it's not like it was around 9/11. This is the next big thing that they want the public to be afraid of.
So there we heard Stephen Greer, the deep state controlled opposition actor there, suggesting that the false flag deep state manufactured alien threat is the next big thing they want the public to be afraid of. And, what I do agree with is, again, that, we've had the fear of terrorism and such forth. We now sort of have the fear of viruses, but the next real big fear factor that they can really use about this, we've had world wars, we've had cold wars, we've had what else is there left to roll out other than the alien threat? But we won't play this because it's forbidden footage. We don't want to catch any copyright strikes or anything like that if we can help it. But as I said, we did start out with the Canadian edition of Project Bluebeam and some very peculiar looking lights caught on some very short videos and only a handful of photographs. Was this aliens visiting us? I really don't think so. Are they deep faked videos and photographs that have been created and developed and designed to be circulated into social media using operatives under the guise of normal people using Facebook or Instagram accounts, Twitter, such forth? Or is it evidence that they are using some kind of holographic technology to be able to project things in the sky? But never has there been a year like 2020 that had so many UFO reports, and 2021 has not stopped in the sightings, the reports, the information, the mainstream narrative. It is all being part and parcel of what I believe is rolling out the next false flag psychological operation, which will come in an alien form. But anyway, that's it, guys. Thanks for watching. As always, keep it thrifty, take care of yourself, and remember to be excellent to each other. This was Reality Decoded, Ship Video Productions. See you next time. And welcome back, guys. I did intend that as an upload, but as I did mention earlier, it was probably unlikely anyone would have watched it in its entirety had I done so, and why I chose to throw together this late night Easter Monday, although it is now Tuesday morning. It's not Easter Monday anymore where I am, but maybe where you are in the world in your particular time zone, it still is the last few remnants of the Easter weekend. So let's put the camera on, let's get rid of the presentation out of sight, and welcome you back to the thrift store studio. So I'm on a little bit later because my roommate is out for the evening, so I do have the luxury of not having to be so quiet, inconsiderate to my very close neighbor upstairs from me. So I hope you enjoyed that. As I said, it's one of those things that I was gonna put it as an upload, so I don't really put many uploads up on Reality Decoded, and sometimes uploads are easier to circulate than sit through a 3-hour live show. And I actually didn't intend it to be an hour and a half long. It just, the more I was looking into it, the more I found Baby P, there was one for you. Even though you're not here, you're in bed, you got to get up early in the morning. But it was very interesting to me that sort of in a week that we were talking about aliens, and in particular talking about hoax invaders from space, that this event took place in Montreal. That was a little bit sketchy, in the fact that there weren't any long videos or only a few snapshots, although thousands of people seem to have witnessed it. There wasn't an awful lot circulating. Were the pictures and videos that were circulating part of the deep state controlled propaganda opposition to provide a little bit of UFO footage that neglected to find its way on to mainstream news media outlets, which is very strange as well, considering how much they have been ramping up the alien agenda and been talking about it on mainstream media news outlets, mainstream publications. It's all up in the alien agenda. So you'd think that an event such as that took place over a major airport of a large country such as Canada, that would have made at least national headlines, if not some more intercontinental or international headlines, don't you think? Yeah, I'm live now, Kelly. I'm still live. I only sort of do a little bit of pre-recording with the articles and the videos and stuff. That gives me a chance to sort of sit back, see what you guys are saying in the comments, roll a little something, have a pee, and then come back to you afterwards live and see if there are any response, thoughts, and opinions on the alien agenda here. And I did have a little chat with Almel in the comments on hoax invaders from space regarding Independence Day. And for those of you that didn't read those comments, I'll bring it up. But back in 2001, on September the 11th, it was due to be broadcast on terrestrial TV for the first time, was Independence Day. It had been shown on cable TV, and back then there was sort of a bit of a longer duration between the movie being shown on the theaters and then its DVD release, and then some time before it would be released on cable TV, and then some time before it got put on terrestrial TV. And it was a relatively new channel, Channel 5, and we only used to have four, well, once upon a time, 3 channels, and then 4 major networks back in the UK: BBC One, BBC Two, ITV, Channel 4, and newly formed Channel 5. And Channel 5 has spent a lot of money on buying the rights to Independence Day and to show it on mainstream entertainment during prime time. And it was due to air on September the 11th, and during the week up to September the 11th they showed trailers and runs next Tuesday, Independence Day. And as you well know, Independence Day, they descended over all the major cities of the world, similar to V, and in particular New York was one of the poor cities that did get a little bit of a demolishing via the alien invasion. And in particular, they didn't destroy the World Trade Center. They blew up the Empire State Building with what was a blue beam or greeny beam from the mothership above New York. There was a directed energy weapon that destroyed the Empire State Building completely. Now, on September the 11th, we got to see very, very similar images to that of Independence Day in real life, just without the aliens. We were supposed that it was radicalized terrorists with limited flight knowledge, armed with box cutters and bandanas, that managed to take control of commercial airliners and then carry out acrobatics beyond the capabilities of any professional pilot and beyond the capabilities of the aircraft they were in fact flying. And not only that, they broke also many more boundaries of physical attributes by penetrating a steel building with an aluminum plane, and then steel was melted as a result of jet fuel and a few office pieces of furniture burning too hot and for too long, even though it was only an hour before those buildings were turned into dust and disintegrated in front of our eyes. Now, was September 11th a Project Bluebeam dummy run on a large scale? I think it was. I really, really do. There was no way that they used planes. The impossibilities of a plane being able to do that much damage. You don't need to be a tinfoil hat. But if you have been force-fed that official narrative and been brainwashed and controlled, had your mind controlled by the mainstream media, then you might well believe that to be possible, especially when an official narrative provides you with false information to suggest that's what's happened. You might be inclined to believe your government, but there are those of us that don't believe our governments and believe that our governments are little more than pawns in the deep state plan to usher in a one world order. All the confusion and the kerfuffle over the recent election, I'm only almost certain is part of the destabilization of the old ways. And oh well, it does seem to be that there was some collusion with outside influences, and votes were fraudulently counted, and dead people voted 16 times, and that's why Biden. So you know what, guys, it's probably for your best if we don't. I know you like voting and putting your little Facebook posts up that you voted and getting your 7-Eleven cup with who you voted for with your morning coffee. We know you like that, but we're going to take that away from you because we can't guarantee there's not going to be corruption. So without any elections, there can be no corruption. You see what I'm saying? So let's just have a one government system for your benefit in safe and secure society. But the alien invasion would bring in possibly very similar measures that we saw as the aftermath of 9/11. And again, they used some directed energy weapon on that day. They used some holographic images. Who knows if they used EMS frequencies in mind control? But the mainstream provide the narrative in the mind washing and the brainwashing and the mind control by repeating that narrative over and over. Radicalized terrorists, Osama bin Laden, they collapsed. And the more you hear it, repetition is the easiest form of mind control. But that was a dummy run in Under the Smoke screen of being replayed of the details and events of that day. The government ushered in all sorts of different draconian measures to the Constitution, how federal government works and how many of your rights and liberties were removed as a result of that. Rights and liberties are being removed under COVID-19. In many cases, we are in a state of medical martial law here in Ontario for the next month. We are on another government-issued shutdown. At the beginning, just before that shutdown, we had this incident in Montreal with the blue lights over the airport. Are we being shut down for another month because they intend to bring us some more of these images in fake alien encounters for the official alien agenda narrative? And just like 9/11 was predicted in many pieces of fiction, literature, entertainment for years and years in advance, so too has the alien invasion been predicted to us. In fact, over 120 years ago, it was first announced in H.G. Wells's War of the Worlds, which I do have a copy of in its entirety of that broadcast that I do intend to try and bring to you, if or not we get away with it for copyright reasons. But I think pre-war stuff is somewhat exempt from copyrights. I'm not sure if that is true, but I do have a copy of it that I would love to play for you because it's 9/11. It really is. They're reading from the same script. And War of the Worlds was used back in 1938 by Orson Welles, who was a Freemason and part of the entertainment industry. He broadcast a dramatization, not for the entertainment purposes, in Halloween titillation and fear-mongering. It was a deep state controlled experiment where the human, where the population that were listening to that were the guinea pigs, and then they were recorded how they reacted to that event, and the psychosomatic effect resulted in some people even going to the lengths of committing suicide. Nancy made a wonderful point that people seeing some of those images that we saw in that presentation might have heart, their heart might stop beating. They might have heart attacks at the shock of what they're seeing. And again, that is probably the design, that they want people to be so shocked with what they may see, they're going to drop dead on the streets. Depopulation. This is what it is all about. Population control, depopulating. But let me check a few of your comments because I lost my train of thought briefly there. Kelly Ninja is agreeing with me. Kelly Rose right on T. Possible the jumpers. Are you talking about the jumpers on 9/11, Almal? No, that is a fascinating. Oh my God! Please don't start me on 9/11 because I don't think we've got enough battery. 40 hours of footage has been removed from TSP TV that went against community standards apparently on 9/11. The jumpers. This is another fucking phenomenon that nobody pays any attention to. But many of the pictures of the jumpers, they're about fucking 20 meters away from the building. Now, your fucking Olympic long jumper would have, a gold medalist long jumper would have difficulties jumping that great a distance. Now, did these people go and take a big long run up and then jump out of the window? Or did something push them out of the window? And another interesting fact of a lot of people that were seen hanging out of the buildings in the areas where the explosions happened or the planes supposedly hit, they took their clothes off. Now, the active denial system is a microwave crowd control system stroke weapon, and just like your microwave oven, you can set it on low or you could set it on high, and the active denial system will give you a microwave blast that will make you feel like you're burning, and then they project this into a crowd, and the crowd will disperse because it feels like they're on fire and burning up. But if you turn the dial right to the top, you probably would fry people. So why, when you're hanging out of a building, it's 1,000 feet up, this ablaze, would you feel the need to hang out the window and take your clothes off? And then if you were going to jump out, why would you go to the trouble of jumping 20 meters away from the building? And in one of those September Tuesday videos, I actually had a piece of footage where you see a person getting shot out of one of the holes in the tower. Literally, you see a body fly out. So the directed energy weaponry there that was used was not just that disintegrate it. While those buildings were burning, there was something inside there or being beamed into there that was dismantling not only the structure of that building at a molecular level, it was damaging people, and there was a big whoosh of energy that I believe pushed people out of that building, whatever that energy was, where it was directed from. One can only wonder, was it under the ground? Did it come from above? Were they using, building 7? Was that where they had the energy rays, and once everything had collapsed, all right, let's press the button and detonate this motherfucker, get rid of all the evidence. But I don't know if TIKYKD, I don't know what KOK means. Is that an acronym like LOL or LAMO? But yeah, I'm going to stop myself. 9/11, don't start me on 9/11. That's the one thing you shouldn't do. An explosion of dynamite forced them out. Maybe it did, but again, Callie, would dynamite dissolve solid steel in mid-air as it did to those buildings and leave great holes in the ground? Something I mentioned a few days ago with the controlled demolition, where that falls apart. That controlled demolition just breaks the support beams between the floors, and the greatest space of any building is the air between the floors, and all that they really do in controlled demolition is pop the air out, and all the floors pile up on top of each other, and they will leave about 30% of the original building. So let's say you've got a 1,000 foot tall building and you control demolition, you will have a pile of debris 300 feet high. What we had after 9/11 were 2 fuck off great big holes that went hundreds of feet deep into the ground, and not a sign of debris, just fucking dust. There wasn't a filing cabinet, there wasn't a phone, there wasn't a laptop, there wasn't a computer chair, there wasn't a desk, there was fucking nothing found in those buildings, yet paper. Do you remember all the paper? It didn't burn the paper. Do you remember the cars that were turned upside down and melted to the fucking frames? That wasn't dynamite. That wasn't a regular controlled demolition explosions. That was something we do not know the technology behind. It should have been 30 stories of more Almel. It was directed energy. Directed energy is all part of Project Bluebeam. And what have we been led to believe that aliens' primary weapon is heat rays. H.G. Wells, 1893, War of the World, before there were aircraft, before there were rapid-fire semi-automatic machine guns, was talking about flying machines and fucking heat rays that could disintegrate solid steel ships, right? So the directed energy weapon that used to bring down the towers on 9/11 could be hidden within the Earth constructed UFOs that may be part of the alien invasion, and they might well, as all the movies depict, descend over all the major cities of the Earth and take out the major landmarks, just as they did on 9/11. And the little laser guns, yeah, they got the little laser guns. Tesla back in the 1800s developed a death ray. 1985 Decoded, we featured Tesla in that and his death rays. I've still got some stuff for TSP TV in my archive files to possibly bring to your attention again, referencing directed energy weaponry. The operation of that Kali Ninja would be beyond astronomical, because they were built into what was called a bathtub, and the bathtub really did support the entire structure of those huge buildings. If you took out and dug out, they would have been unstable before. But if you remember back in 1993, they had the first World Trade Center terror attack, which was kind of went wrong, didn't work as well as they hoped, and then they sort of rebranded and relaunched that particular site up 2 years later at Oklahoma City, where they blew up the was it the FBI building? Was it the Hoover? I can't remember what it was called. But it was the same technology that was used in Oklahoma City. They tried to bring the towers down on 1993. Ironically, it was on the Friday before the Sunday that Waco siege began. But there was one, it hit the 77th floor on one tower, and it was the 88th for between the 80 and 91st on the other. But I believe the towers were built to come up, and I've even put some footage and photographs of a Time magazine cover from 1967 or 68 with one of the Rockefellers sitting in portion of the Trade Center, because they were being constructed at the late 60s and were opened in the early 1970s. But there was a picture of Rockefeller in the World Trade Center as it was being constructed, looking down on the lower Manhattan skyline from the tower, and his clock hands are pointing to 9/11. Is that a fucking coincidence, or is that foreshadowing? They were built to come down. They were built to come down. They were never meant to stay. 2 World Trade Centers come down. 1 Trade Center went up. 1 World Trade Center. They removed the duality, and that was the beginning of the end of the beginning, and the beginning of the destabilization of America come in the early 90s under the Operation PACCOM, Patriot Conspiracy, where FBI and CIA agents, Timothy McVeigh being one of them, infiltrated local militias and conspiracy circles in the United States of America to harvest information and then relay that to their superiors. Now they don't need to do that because they've got social media, and we provide all the information we could possibly not want to give anybody as a result of it. And our little algorithmic artificial intelligent robot that resides within our smart technology, remember, self-monitoring analysis research technology. That's what SMART is the acronym for, formerly militarized weaponized technology, to give them an advance over the enemy if they know exactly where the enemy are doing, thinking, saying, or going for their lunch next Tuesday. You can drop a drone on them. And now again with Project Bluebeam and the voice to skull technology, I believe our phones have that technology hidden within them. All our smart technology, I believe, has it in, and just like the clones in Star Wars, when the execute order 66 command comes through, then these phones can switch on the voice to skull, and with all the information we've provided it, all the Jesus memes, all the mask memes, they can provide us the exact fucking dialogue to be beamed to our own personal tailor-made programming Bluebeam Armageddon. And while we've got the holographic images going on and maybe a few buildings being destroyed with directed energy weaponry, quite a lot of people will drop dead with fright. Maybe people will go out of their way and commit suicide like they did in Bird Box. Who knows, guys? As I said, I'm just bringing you as much information as I can on this subject, as well as all my thoughts and opinions and experience of researching this stuff for you. Make of it what you will. I'm not telling you to believe it, but start believing it, guys. This shit is for real, for real. PACCOM, as I said, is some another stuff that I've got loads of information I want to put together in a stream. Leave your Bluetooth headphones in your ear at night and see if you have crazy, wild dreams, sleep paralysis. Funny enough, Almel, very funny enough, sleep paralysis. The last fucking 2 days before today, I've not been able to sleep more than 2 hours. And when I do sleep, I still dream that I'm awake. It's very bizarre, but in my dream, I can't move my arms. Like I'm trapped under the covers and I cannot move my arms. And I've had that reoccurring dream maybe 3, possibly 4 times in the last week. today, while this is even more scary, and I can even possibly go and get a tissue out of the bathroom waste basket for you, but when I was recording all that stuff and then going to edit what you've seen in the presentation, I got a fuck off headache in the side of my head, and then my nose and the left side of my face started to feel very, very sort of congested and puffy. And I then went and blow my nose, and blood come out. And let me see if I can find it. Unfortunately, I can't. I threw it in the toilet. Sorry, you had the same dream, Almal? Like you couldn't move your arms. But yeah, I've had terrible, terrible sleep in the last sort of few weeks where, you know, I was managing maybe sort of 4 hours sleep if I was lucky, but recently it's sort of reduced to about 2. Again, electromagnetic frequencies can cause insomnia, and they can cause headaches, and they can cause all sorts of symptoms that could quite possibly make you die, as well as heart attacks, shakes, goodness knows whatever. But before the stream, I went live. As I said, I had a lot of congestion in my face. I took a couple of aspirin, drunk plenty of water, went and sat outside to get some fresh air, stayed away from my phone while it was editing. But when I blew my nose and there was blood, that was like a little bit alarming. I mean, it wasn't like a nosebleed, just a big blob of sort of blood come out in a bit of snot. But you can, you know, when you get a nosebleed, you can kind of smell and taste the blood in the back of your throat. That was lingering there. Almel, last night I felt like I was getting sick. Woke up from a lucid dream and couldn't breathe. My nose was shooting pains in my right eye. Sometimes my right eye squeaks. Like it feels very congested, and when I rub it, it will squeak, although it's not doing it now. But the left side of my face, and this is something I've mentioned before, some of you may remember that, you know, I've got like this little spot on the left side of my head there that feels like it's sunburn. And I do experience a lot of headaches on the left side of my face and in the back of the left, you know, the left side of my neck. So that is very, very worry. I live Cali Ninja. There's fucking about 1 billion 5G towers around me in Toronto. You know, I'm literally not necessarily in the heart of downtown, but I am sort of considered midtown, downtown area. And yeah, to answer that, there are an awful lot of 5G towers, as well as the fact that I have 2 cellular devices that I use to research this. And my little artificial algorithm knows exactly what I'm up to, what I'm looking into. It knows that I try to relay this information to a handful of people. Is it trying to shut me up? You've seen the shadow banning and the passive censorship that I get on this channel, and more importantly and more frequently over at TSP TV, which is why we are primarily here at Reality Decoded now, although this is a smaller subscriber base than TSP TV. TSP TV is my backup channel now. It's been so shadow banned, it's had so many community strikes, so many copyright strikes. You know, 4,000 subscribers. I put an upload the other day, it got 40 views. That's not even 0.1% of my subscriber base. But here at Reality Decoded, I think I got 69 subscribers, and I can push at least 50 views from my return. Sometimes a few of these streams have got over 70, and I've even got one over 100. So, you know, a smaller glass overflowing at Reality Decoded is, as opposed to a big barrel with just a tiny drop in at TSP TV. But this is what I'm telling you about the dangers of our artificial intelligent buddies, our smartphones. They are collecting all our data. All our data can be used and targeted on a personal level towards us. These essentially are our terminators. But as we are getting close to 2 hours and 40 minutes, I'm going to start wrapping this up at the 2:45, I think. If or not, we do drag it on to 3 hours. You know how I do get with my round numbers and stuff. Ear ringing out of nowhere. My ears are always ringing, Al, never not ringing at all. Now, sort of, all of these symptoms we've covered and looked at and mentioned in some of the sort of frequency war, mind control kind of stuff, how these can be used as this. And again, we give all of our phones, all of our information. This information and data gets sold to the highest bidder. The highest bidder is the deep state or one of its many subsidiaries that act under the guise of human planning or you know, in a case of Tavistock, manipulating of the masses. So many of these organizations exist with the sole purpose of manipulating us and collecting our data. All the data that they take from us, they can then tailor make psychological operations. We've talked about the sentient world simulation, the real life virtual world that in real time right now they're conducting various virtual simulations based on each and every one of us right now, and they have all of our information as a little node on a big screen. The left ear ringing when in the left side is because the left and the right side have two different functions, and they lobotomize. You know, when you get a lobotomy, it is on the left side of the brain, I believe. Almal, you're our medical expert, is that right? We're talking back in the zombie decoded stream about why they were pushing the thing up the nose, and usually up the left nose, was because that is the side of the lobotomy, and not only that, it is the fastest way to distribute straight to the brain whatever was on the tip. But back again to Project Bluebeam. There's 3 for Baby P, who's not here. They are gonna not just only use the holographic imagery of maybe a fake hoax alien invasion, as well as religious icons perhaps. They're also going to use electromagnetic frequencies, voice to skull technology. Now, in that last article that we looked at about Project Bluebeam from December 2020, again, I will reiterate, I was the first person, I believe until I'm proven wrong, that told you that the COVID COVID-19 scam was a cover-up for Project Bluebeam. And now somebody else is talking about that. So if or not this individual saw some of my content on Bluebeam, thought, you're right, this guy's making a good point, looked at himself, or maybe he made that assumption himself. The point of the matter is, I told you first, and all those videos on TSP TV with 0 comments about Project Bluebeam. Maybe now is the time to go and actually watch those uploads in their entirety, and not just the first 6 minutes. Leave your thumbs up and random generic content, because there is an awful lot of information that is relevant to Project Bluebeam. And within the last few days, we've seen a Bluebeam-esque event or occurrence over Montreal, Canada, not just down the road, but it is in the neighboring province to Ontario. Shame we haven't got Etienne here, because he is in Quebec. He is Quebecois. He might have or heard something about that, but I'm not the only one now that is telling you COVID is a cover-up for Project Bluebeam. What was it? The Winter Warrior, or the Winter Watch. That was another individual that is suggesting that this is a smokescreen for the deception of the false flag alien invasion. What do you think, guys? Am I barking up the wrong tree, or am I onto something? Any impact will be appreciated. Let me read. Yes, something's they obliterate water molecules. Elmo and Kelly, you girls have been having a great conversation throughout the duration of this stream. Oh wait, I put my speaker on by accident. I'm trying to read your comments a little bit further up. Thank you for all your hard work, T. Great show. Yes, donations are very, very appreciated and accepted, more so than ever right now. Let me go and post the link again for you, for those of you who may have missed it the first time. As I said, this is kind of my job now, as I was made non-essential at the start of this. When they hit us with the 60 hertz gig, run, and you know, we've looked at a lot at the frequencies in the ranges of frequencies that they operate on, and the fact that they can, you know, precisely tweak frequencies to resonate at the same frequency as the brain. You've mentioned as well that you get the ringing in the air. A few of us have said that frequencies, energy, we are 90% water, and these, yeah, that's why they were making the obliterate the water molecule. That's why I always, like, when I take a shower, I always said that's about the only place I kind of feel normal is when I'm under running water. And I do sort of have a little dip in the lake during the summertime, but water sort of does act, I think, is a little bit of a blocking of these frequencies. I'm not sure if that's not there. Oh, okay, the link in the comment would not work, but the, okay, yeah, I probably might have to go in, because I copied and pasted the description. But if anyone else has anything to say, it is getting close to the 2 hours 45 mark. It is 2:14 in the morning here where I am. I'm not sure if it's better doing, I mean, I wish I could do it later. I think sort of the midnight hour is probably a little bit more of the sort of time slot for this sort of content, and when sort of people probably put little ones to bed and maybe have a little time to themselves, and have done and dusted with dinner. But unfortunately, as I've mentioned before, I do have a roommate who I have to sort of give some consideration to, so I sort of don't really like to be too loud past midnight, just to be sort of polite that front. But I think it would be a better thing to be later than earlier, because 9 p.m. my time for some of you guys is only 6 p.m. in the evening. Sorry, let me come down a little bit there. But as for those, you know, I don't really know what to make of those lights saw over the airport there in, we're going to go on for another 15 minutes. If I can drag it out, I fucking will. I'm sure none of you will grumble unless you've got something to do. Oh, dear God, Al Hardy. I only watched the first 2 minutes of that movie, Godzilla, King Kong. King Kong throws a fucking, he makes a spear out of a tree and he throws it, and Skull Island, where Kong lives, is underneath a holographic projected dome. Thank you for bringing that out. I haven't seen the movie beyond that. I watched 2 minutes and I'm like, holy fucking shit, Kong's under a holographic dome. The dome. So I was probably gonna watch that tonight, but I streamed instead. But yeah, I am gonna watch that, Elmel. Sisyphus, the Myth, the Korean Netflix time travel. If you're not watching it, I don't know how many times I have to tell you to fucking watch it. The greatest time travel fiction ever. I love Back to the Future. I love H.G. Wells' Time Machine. I almost hate saying this is better than both of those that fueled me for most of my life. But Sisyphus, the Myth, holy fucking shit. Watch it. It shows the deep state, although the Korean deep state, all locked away in a room waiting to watch the nuclear missiles that they knew was going to happen because they have information from the future. It also has an individual who went back from the year 2032 to August 2001. Guess what he did in August of 2001? Betted on sporting events and invested on the stock market. And then on September the 10th, 2001, this individual sold all of his stocks and shares, put all of his money, and you know what he did? He bought put options. And the very next day, what happened? Sisyphus, the myth. That's what it's called. Sisyphus. Sisyphus, I can't say it. It's a hard word. Sisyphus, the myth, is a Greek legend of an individual whose internal hell was to push a rock to the top of a mountain. And only when he got to the top, the rock rolled all the way down and he went back, picked the rock. And it just kept happening over and over again. Now, Sisyphus, the myth, and the time travel, this girl's come back lots and lots of time to try and prevent a war, but each and every time she's come back has been unsuccessful. It's a little bit like rolling the rock up the hill. It doesn't matter how many times you roll it up, it's not going to change from rolling back down the hill. Sisyphus, the myth. Let me show you if I can on I've shared the link. Funny enough, Almel, look, there's where is it? I was looking at it earlier. Godzilla on the very app. Okay, I don't know where's it's back to front, I know, but it is spelled. Let me put it for you. Hold on a sec. There you go. You've got to watch it. Yeah, no, I'm going to watch it, Almel. Let me just show you why I'm going to watch it. I don't know if you can see that. The Godzilla collection. Every single fucking Godzilla movie ever made on a 2-disc set, including the original King Kong versus Godzilla. I fucking love Godzilla movies. So that is why I am going to watch it. But seriously, Sisyphus the Myth. Watch it. It is on Netflix. You will need to read subtitles, but fucking sublime. If there is any predictive programming in that, then I'm not TSP, and this isn't reality decoded. But time travel, again, is another big thing of mine. I'm very interested in. Something we covered during 2 weeks of tea. We did a trilogy of time travel related streams in homage to Back to the Future trilogy, 3 time travel, where we looked at a lot of time travel references, but this blows it does. Oh my god, like the flux capacitor, 121 gigabots, it's all gone out the window. The myth, Hanti-Sol, oh my god, he is the new Marty McFly, Hanti-Sol. But the concept is they kind of upload your DNA to an uploader, and then they can transport you and 3D print you in another time zone. And just also something I found in regards to Sisyphus, there is actually a US patent, believe it or not, for a teleportation device that does exactly that. Boom. And I posted the patent on Facebook for anyone who actually bothered to read it and didn't just leave a thumbs up and maybe a random sticker that popped up. You know I'm talking about, Nancy, you naughty little Cajun agent, you. Sorry, so the whole Titan myths, god, we might even be going on for longer than I expected. It's on it's currently on issue, there's only 2 episodes left of Sisyphus. I think it's up to episode 14 so far. Incidentally, running simultaneously is another Korean show called Times, which also features time travel, but they communicate through a cell phone from the future to the past via 5G. It's all about political intrigue and how an individual who was once a reporter suddenly becomes a presidential candidate. Donald Trump. But anyway, guys, Korean time travel is the fucking shit. And since 2013, believe it or not, there hasn't been a year that hasn't featured time travel on Korean TV. It is a hive of uncharted programmatics for sure. There's also another show that I want to start watching that is all about a war between humans and human clones, again from Korea. Can't remember what it's called though. It's on my watch list. And the more I look at Korean drama, the more I find, holy shit, I've got to watch this. There's got to be some predictive programming in that for sure. But anyway, Baron von Trump's amazing underground adventure that we looked in Reality Decoded 1985 edition, that the Trump Tower in New York is built out of the exact same materials that you would need to build a Tesla tower. It could also well be a TARDIS like Doctor Who, or think of the phone booth in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, again in Ghostbusters, if you also remember. The at the end scene, the skyscraper was planted on an ancient ley line or something, and it was over a ley line to a portal to other dimensions and realms, and when they were opened, the gatekeeper and the keymaster united on top of that skyscraper, the portal was open, and Gozer, the demigod, also known as Zool, appeared and bring forth hellfire and brimstone, and of course the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. Makes me think of the old photos with modern tech or clothing caught on them, before we had the ability to create deep fakes. Time travel, yeah, we're going to go back. We're going to do another time travel stream, something I will tease you with, and we are only 7 minutes away from the 3-hour mark, so yay T, I did my 3 hours thing. That is a little bit of a if anybody hasn't noticed, my intros are always 4 minutes and 20 seconds long, and I always try to do 3 streams that are 3 hours long. Three numerology, I'm trying to use their tactics for your purposes, but many things I'm sure go over quite a few heads of the viewers there. I went back and watched Ghostbusters with new eyes, and whoa, I was blind. Yeah, Ghostbusters. We're gonna have to do a Ghostbusters fucking decoded interdimensional stuff. But what I'm gonna do, or planning to do, is 10 days of reality. Remember, we used to have spring break. We had 2 weeks of tea. I don't know if we will do spring break this year. It'd be rude not to when the weather gets better. Maybe we might do a little bit of a spring break special over on TSP TV, just to do our 3rd spring break. Be rude not to, talking of the 3s, right, Almel? But I'm planning maybe starting this Thursday, 10 days of reality, which we will go right through to the next weekends. We'll do Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I think that's 10 days. Any panty liners? I've still got some left, believe it or not, Almel. I could root around for them, but I don't want to. It's a little bit late in the day. The plasma, holy smokes. Elmel, Kelly, would you guys like to be my panelists for a Ghostbusters special stream as part of 10 days of reality? No one's really given me any good feedback on 10 days of reality. Maybe they're like, don't encourage him. We won't have to watch or pretend we like him for 10 days in a row. Almel would be on it. Well, I've got your email and number, although I can't call you because I've got no credit left on my phone. I do need to top up in order to do that. What about you, Kelly, sweetheart? Kelly Rose? Every rose has a thorn, and just like every night has a dawn. Sorry. Kelly, would you like to be a guest? Yes, lol, awesome. So 10 days of tea, not 10 days of tea, 10 days of reality will hopefully start this Thursday, all being well, but only if I get 500 likes. Share if you agree. I don't need 500 likes. I'm going to put my email in the box for you, or actually, can I? There are 2 emails that you can reach me on, Kelly, and we will try and figure out, because Ghostbusters, and again, they rebooted Ghostbusters with an all-girl cast that was absolutely shit. But again, lots of programmatics. Donald Trump has a building that is situated almost identically to the same spot as the as the building in Ghostbusters. I can't watch that one. What can't you watch? The new Ghostbusters. Yeah, I know what you're saying. It is hashtag not my Ghostbusters, but I did watch it just to kind of see. And funny enough, coming this year is the 3rd original Ghostbusters. They're bringing out a 3rd Ghostbuster movie, I think June this year. That follows on from where Ghostbusters 2 left off. Yeah, and they had that handsome looking secretary guy that they were flirting. Yeah, I don't know, it's horrible. Funny enough, back in the day in the UK, there was these comedian, the 2 Ronnies, Ronnie Corbett and Ronnie Barker, and they used to do a little sketch show. And one of the sketch shows they did back in the 70s, they did like a little fake. It's only like maybe 3 or 4 minutes long each episode, but it was like a sort of satirical sci-fi series, and it was called The Worm That Turned, and it was all about how women become the powerful sex in society, and how men were staying at home wearing dresses and doing the ironing. And very much in the 21st century, the feminization of males has is certainly been on the ramp. But anyway, guys, we are getting close to 3 hours now. Hopefully you enjoyed this Project Bluebeam Canadian edition. If you didn't, I don't care. I brought it to you anyway, but hopefully you did learn a thing or two, or found something interesting at least, which is the very minimum reward for me for putting these together. Is if just one person learns one piece of information, then the purpose has been served. The more people that take information, the better. And not only this, you need to not retain that information, share it with your friends. You don't have to share this video, share the information I taught you with your friends. Go look up Project Bluebeam, go start looking up hoax, alien invasions, start looking at UFO sightings in your local neighborhood, see if it's going on your doorstep. I love things men can do, and I can what and that which women can do, men can't. That confused me. If you're confused what you are, look between your legs, and voila, the answer is there. Yeah, I'm a boy. I'm not gonna show the camera down there for you, but anyway, guys, this is it. We are at the 3-hour mark, so let's get our little dancing girl in place and get ready to say goodbye to you all. Hopefully we'll be back Thursday, where 10 days of reality will start, although none of you seem very excited about that at all. Mel Kelly, we're trying to get ourselves in action for Ghostbusters stream. Devil Speak, for sure, you're going to be involved. The Wench Wrenches, who have been a little bit absent this evening, in bed, and probably got kids to deal with. That is probably why, but nonetheless, they'll probably be featuring in it, and hopefully I can get through some of the stuff that is piling up in my browser tabs. I've got about 200 tabs opened right now with all stuff that is interest to me that I had intent to bring to you as part of our streaming, and sometimes throw myself into a project like 2 weeks of tea, or hopefully 10 days of reality. We'll be able to get through some of that, and maybe you can choose some of your own reality too. But until then, guys, stay safe, stay out of trouble, watch the skies. The truth is out there. I was going to do some Twilight Zone, but I forgot how it goes. Imagine a world where holographic aliens are coming through your door. But anyway, till Thursday, guys, keep it thrifty, and most importantly, be excellent to each other. See you soon.